let me know when to start.
Actually, you know what? I guess when Carrie's had a chance to go through.
Okay, good morning and welcome everyone. Today is August 13, 2020. Some housekeeping matters before we begin our hearing today. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. All registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you mute all of your personal devices, including the YouTube stream, when you are not speaking, to prevent transmission of background noise and minimize disruption to the meeting. Please unmute your computer microphones before speaking. Please ensure to mute the YouTube streaming while you are speaking to prevent any noise feedback. The hearing will take a slower pace. Each item will be stated, and then a moment will be given to allow everyone time to find their place. Please write down the WebEx meeting access code and attendant ID from your WebEx meeting invitation and keep it nearby for quick reference. If you experience lag or audio issues, disconnect and call into the hearing and enter this information. Please call into the hearing with the phone number that you have registered with, so that staff can recognize your number and unmute you when your item comes up. Before we begin, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for minor variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to create new lots. To ensure a fair and timely hearing, I will vet the agenda to determine which applications can be dealt with immediately and which applications require a more in-depth review. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today if those are significant in nature. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and all those entitled to the notice of the application are informed of the changes. When individuals, either in support or opposition to the application, will be invited to speak, please ensure to include all your remarks or concerns that you may have on the application. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. If there are several speakers sharing the same view, please select a spokesperson to present the group's opinion. We certainly want to hear your views. However, covering the same points will not advance your cause. Please be advised that all deputants at the hearing today will be given a chance to speak before the committee moves on to the applicant for a rebuttal or response to the concerns. The chair will advise if there are any questions for the deputants. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. Please note that unless committee members have any questions, the deputants will not get a chance to rebut the applicant's response. This will mark the end of the decision. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. The committee has received the minutes of the last meeting. I would like to have a mover and a seconder to adopt the meeting minutes. Do I have a mover? No? Okay. May I know the reason why we do not have a mover?
Madam Chair, I thought we were postponing approval of the minutes to the following committee meeting.
Okay. To give everyone a chance to review the minutes before? Okay. All right. So we will, the committee has deferred the review and adoption of the minutes from the July 10th hearing to the next meeting to allow members to review the minutes and make a motion on it. Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff at this hearing today? There are none. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral?
Through the chair, we've received three deferrals. One for item 18, which is 125 NASHDENE Road. One for item 11, which is 91 NEILSON. And both of these deferral requests are because the owner failed to post a sign in accordance with the statutory requirements. The third deferral is for item 18 at 143 East Avenue. Two of the requested variances were inadvertently omitted from the notice.
Okay, thank you. And are the applicants for each of the application aware and are in agreement with the deferral?
The applicants are aware, all three applicants are aware.
Thank you very much. So I don't need to call them or confirm?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So we have requests for deferral for 3 items. The first one being 125 NASHDENE Road, which is item 8. Members of the committee, we need a motion to defer this because of the reasons stated by Mr. Ramdale.
I put forward a motion for deferral.
May I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that.
We have a seconder to defer item 8. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. Item number 8 has been deferred. Sine die. The next request for deferral was item 11, which is 91 NEILSON Avenue. The reasons were stated by Mr. Ramdale. May I have a mover to defer the application?
I put forward a motion for deferral.
Okay, have a seconder?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Seconder. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried, and the application has been deferred sine die. The third request for deferral is item 18, which is 143 East Avenue. May I have a mover, please?
I put forward a motion for deferral.
Seconder to the motion?
Yes, I'll second that motion to defer.
Right, we have a seconder. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. The application for 143 East Avenue has been deferred sine die. All right, so we have dealt with the requests for deferral. I will now wet the agenda. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda and ask if anyone other than the agent or the applicant is present in interest and wishes to address the committee. If there are people in interest, the matter will be held until all non-contested applications have been cleared from the agenda. If there is no one present in interest to speak to the application, the agent or the applicant will proceed with their presentation. If required, the committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. All right, I will now start reviewing the agenda to vet the items. Item number 1, it is 91 EASTVILLE Avenue. We have on our list of participants, the agent listed for this application, Mr. Kyle Khadra. Are you online with us?
I'm present, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. I don't see anyone in opposition or in support listed as registered or with us. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for item number 1?
Madam Chair, I have a question for the agent on item number 1.
So we have a question for you, Mr. Kadra. Please go ahead, Member Macaulay.
I notice on this application that this is a revised application, that is good, that the residents in the area have noted the width of the driveway, it's a double-car driveway, and have suggested that in view of the size of this driveway and the lack of permeable material, whether the applicant is willing to make the driveway a permeable driveway.
Through the chair, yeah, we have reviewed that comment and we're comfortable with that. If the committee finds it within its purview to put it as a condition. Anyway, we're designing a house that has a low carbon footprint, and our intention is to have a low impact on the environment. So for sure, that would be something that we'd be comfortable with.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kadra. Any further questions? If not, then may I have a motion on this application?
Madam Chair, I would recommend approval of this application, subject to a condition, I believe there's conditions of urban forestry, but secondly, a condition that the driveway be subject to permeable materials, and that may have to be to the satisfaction of community planning.
Okay, Mr. Kadra, are you aware of the urban forestry conditions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
We're okay with that.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor to approve, subject to the condition as stated. A seconder, please.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Member M seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. Your application has been approved, subject to the condition that the driveway be paved with permeable pavers as well as conditions of urban forestry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving to item number 2. Item number 2 is 68 Harewood Drive. And we have the agent listed with us as Leo Mastrandria. Leo, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much. For the benefit of the committee and the listeners, this application was considered on July 10th, but was deferred to allow the applicant to modify the application. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Leo at this time?
Madam Chair, I have one question for Leo. It's a question of clarification.
Please go ahead. Leo, we have a question.
Okay. The application states that the application is to permit a second-story addition and a rooftop patio. I'm unable to determine where this rooftop patio is to be located and whether that is just a leftover from last application where there was some concern about what was happening on the rooftop. Could you clarify where your rooftop patio is, or are you no longer requiring a rooftop patio?
Yes, we are no longer requiring a rooftop patio. I think it was just a leftover item from the last one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions for Leo? Just want to make sure if there are any conditions. So there are conditions of urban forestry, Leo, and you're aware of those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, if there are no further questions, may I have a motion, please? Member Macaulay?
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of that's item number 68 Harewood Avenue. I appreciate that the applicant has worked very closely to modify this application and to make the changes that were of a concern. So I recommend approval subject to, again, urban forestry.
Okay, I have a seconder.
Madam Chair, I would second that approval.
Gary seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. Leo, your application has been approved, subject to condition of
Thank
urban
you.
forestry. Thank you. We move to item number 3. Item number 3 is for 46 Guild Hall Drive. And we have listed with us Stepan Sukesian. Are you with us, Stepan?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. I will do a roll call just to make sure that the participants who have registered with us are online with us. Matt Mujahid.
Through the chair, this person has not logged in yet.
Okay, and he's the owner
Yes.
of the property. Okay. James Elliott. James Elliott, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Present.
Thank you. Yvonne Oliveira, are you with us, Yvonne?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much. So we will hold down this item and come back to it because this requires some discussion. So we will hold down this item and come back to it. Okay, so just stay with us. Thank you. Item number 4 is 147 Haileybury Drive. And we have with us listed as the agent Leo Mastandria. Leo, you're with us?
Yes.
Okay. We also have Marcia Stiles listed as an interested party with petition to oppose. Are you with us, Marcia?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And we've also listed Ihor D. Wands from the counselor's office. Ihor, you're with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we will hold down this item and come back to it after we complete the vetting of the agenda for further discussion on this item. Moving to item number 5, we have 297 Victoria Park Avenue. For this, we have Kyle Kardra as the agent. Kyle, you're with us?
Present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do we have any questions for Kyle on this application? This is 297 Victoria Park. It's an application to construct a new 2-story rear addition and to enclose the existing front porch. And we have before us 6 variances. Any questions? If none, may I have a mover, please?
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to put forward a motion of approval, subject to, I believe there was urban forestry conditions.
Yeah. And Kyle, you're aware of the urban forestry condition?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're okay with that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor for approval of this application, subject to condition of urban forestry. May I have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I'm willing to second that motion. Is the applicant also aware of transportation planning's comments?
Yes, through the chair, we have been in discussions with transportation, and the issue was that we were trying to propose a parking pad on the front yard, which is going to be mostly on the public property. So they are okay with the application not having a parking space, which is an existing condition. And we discussed it with them that we're going to be applying for an on-street parking permit on the opposite side of Victoria Park. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you had received the latest information from transportation planning. I will second the motion for approval.
Okay. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. Kyle, your application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we move to item number 6. Item 6 is for 45 Poplar Road. And we have registered with us Patrick McAuliffe. Patrick, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir. We also have a neighbor registered with us, Ramesh Bhattacharya.
Hi there.
Thank you very much. I assume you are in opposition to this application?
No, I'm just listening in.
Okay, so when you say you're listening in, do you have concerns with this application or are you in support of this application?
I just want to find out what the details will be of the application, the results.
Just the result or some details of the application?
The details, and obviously the result will come through.
Through the chair, if this person wants to just observe the hearing, they're welcome to observe it on our YouTube stream.
Okay, but because we're going through the vetting session, and if the committee approves the application, then there will be no further discussion on this application,
Correct?
right?
Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, perhaps we can ask the neighbor whether he would like to have a discussion. And
That's
if he
what I
would
was
like
about to-
to have a discussion, then we would have
Yeah.
to hold the application.
So this is what I'm going to explain to him. Ramesh, we're vetting the agenda. So that's why we're asking you the question if you have any concerns with this application, or would you like further discussion? Because if you say no and you're just observing, the matter will go into committee and the committee will make a decision. And if the application is, whatever the decision is, has been approved or denied, the decision will be made right away.
Okay, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Okay, all right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's about it.
Okay, all right. Is that good then? Okay. So we just spoke with Ramesh, and he does not have a concern per se with the application. Committee members, any questions for Patrick? If there are no questions for Patrick, just want to make sure we have no conditions of urban forestry. If there are no questions for the applicant, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, this is one of the many sites that I went out and took a look at. This is an area in Guildwood that is undergoing a number of changes on Poplar Road, and that may be why a resident on Poplar Road is also interested in watching what is happening, because there's clearly other applications on this road. However, this is an application to construct a two-car garage. It's got setbacks that are reasonable. I recommend approval of this application.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a seconder, please.
Madam Chair, I'd second that approval.
Gary seconds it. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. The application for 45 Poplar Road has been approved.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 7. Item number 7 is 10 Glen Everest Road. We have quite a bit of list here, so I'm going to do a roll call. We have the agent as Rob Huot. Rob, are you with us?
I'm here.
Thank you. We have Anna Kazmirska as the owner.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Susan Spiegel, the architect.
Through the chair, this person has not logged in.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly Graham from Toronto Housing Corp. Kelly, you're there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. We have an interested party, J.D. Moore.
Through the chair, this person has not logged in.
Okay. Ben Quinn. Ben, are you with us? Ben Quinn.
Yes, present.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Justine Skillipotti.
Through the chair, this person has not logged in.
Okay, thank you. So we certainly have one registered party as available.
Through the chair, perhaps you may want to ask Ben Quinn if he is speaking on behalf of Justine.
Okay. Question, Ben, are you there? Ben, are you speaking on behalf of Justine?
Yes, Justine Philippa is my fiance, and she's actually in the room with me now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramjal, for that. So we will hold down this item and come back to it because this requires further discussion. So please stay with us until we come back. Item 8 was deferred. Item 9, 49 Westbourne Avenue. 49 Westbourne Avenue, we have the 8 applicants listed with us. Saya Zanjani, are you with us, Saya? Or Sia?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. This is an application before us to construct a 2-story detached dwelling, and we have 5 variances before us. Members of the committee, any questions for Saya?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just wanting to understand whether the applicant is aware of the transportation report and comments.
Yes, we are. Through the chair, yes, we are. In fact, our grading consultant has addressed most of those comments, and we just received the revised copy 5 minutes ago from them. So we are aware and we've addressed them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe there are there are no conditions of urban forestry. So if there are no conditions, have a mover, please.
I put forward a motion of approval.
Seconder?
Madam Chair, before I second it, the agent said he just received new comments from Transportation Planning?
No, he had said he had addressed the comments and they were just having conversations back and forth.
Okay.
So there was no conditions. There was some comments on the location of the hydrant, and so they had submitted a revised grading plan, I think, to the satisfaction of transportation. But there were no conditions regardless, so.
Yeah, there are no conditions from transportation, but they have managed to address the comments that were received related to the grading.
Okay. And the access from West Haven is still satisfactory, is it?
That is, I believe, from transportation comments. I don't think they had any objections to the variance number 5, I believe. Sorry, yes. Which means a parking space on a corner lot must be from a flanking street and that's not a major street, and the proposed access is from the front street, and transportation had no issues with that access.
Okay. I'll second your motion then.
Okay, so we have a seconder to the motion to approve the application. All in favor? The application has been approved and there are no conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to item number 10. Item number 10 is 12 Cameron Watson Crescent. And this is an application to permit a new rear deck currently under construction without the benefit of a building permit, and we have 3 variances before us. For this application, we have the owner, Ashwini Balasubramanian. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Ashwini. We also have listed the engineer, Visu Valiningam. Are you with us, Vasu? Visu.
Through the chair, this person has not logged in.
Okay. And I assume this is the engineer representing the owner. So Ashwini, is Visu your engineer who's representing you today?
I'm the agent, so I'm representing myself. I just asked him to join if there's any concerns that he could address. But
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ashwini. Members of the committee, do we have any questions for Ashwini? If there are no questions, just looking at the conditions, I don't think there are any conditions from urban forestry as well. So if there are no questions, may I have a mover, please?
Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval.
Have a seconder?
And Madam Chair, I'll second that approval.
Member Gary seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. Your application has been approved, Ashwini.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Item 11 was deferred. Item number 12, it is for 101 LEBOVIC Avenue, F11, Unit C04. And we have Mark Aldrich Obispo listed as the agent. Mark, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. We do not have any other people listed with us. This is an application to construct a new mezzanine level within the existing unit. Members of the committee, do we have any questions for the agent? None. If there are no questions, or concerns, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this application. I don't believe there are any conditions.
There are no conditions, okay. A seconder, please.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Perfect. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried, and Mark, your application has been approved, and there are no conditions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item number 13 is 10 Emmett Avenue. We have listed Christian Chan as the agent. Kristen, are you with us?
I think that's a yes.
Christian, I guess. Okay. There was a bit of a technical. I just want to hear him again. Yeah. There was a bit of a technical glitch. Okay.
Maybe give the phone number for him to call in.
Okay. So we're have.
I think it's if can you hear me? I understood.
Can you hear? Okay. 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 Okay, so there's a bit of a glitch, and we're hearing some issues with hearing you clearly. So Christian, I'm assuming you're there and you're listening to us. Interested party who's listed with us here is Louise Gilmore. Louise, are you with us?
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you, Louise. So I believe we will hold down this item to come back to it. Oh, okay, yes.
Through the chair, can you ask Louise if she wants to speak in opposition?
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Louise, are you here to speak in opposition to this application?
I had submitted a 4-page comments that yes, I do have opposition to elements of this application.
All right, okay, so this, and you wish to speak to this, right?
Well, I had submitted the comments expecting that the comments would be the best way to speak to the issues, but then the response came back essentially inviting me to the session today. So if it's useful for me to speak to my comments, I can speak to them. Otherwise, I feel the written submission is probably more fulsome.
Okay.
So through the chair, Louise was inadvertently sent the invitation. Normally for written submissions, the written submissions stand on its own unless the person specifically requests to speak. In this case, she did not request to speak. So if Louise is comfortable having her letter stand for itself, which is now before the committee,
okay,
that's the choice that you can make.
So Louise, you heard our Deputy Secretary Treasurer giving you the option. Do you wish to stay and speak to it, or do you think the letter that you've submitted stands for your position?
I would say that the letter stands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, we did receive the letter from Louise, and we've had the opportunity to read it. Do you have any questions for Christian at this time as we're vetting the session? Vetting the application.
Madam Chair, I would like to see a presentation on this item.
Okay, so members of the committee would like to see a presentation on this application, so we will hold down this item and come back to it. And Christian, we were having some trouble hearing you clearly, so I suggest, because we're holding down this item and come back to it, I suggest you log out and log in again, just to ensure that we hear you clearly when we actually discuss your application. Okay?
Either that, or he can call in by phone.
Or you can call in by phone, and the WebEx phone-in number, I will repeat for the benefit of yourself and everyone. It is 416-915-6530. Okay, thank you very much. So item 13 has been held for discussion and questions. Item number 14 is 44 Whitley Castle Crescent. And we have the agent listed with us as Diane. Diane, are you there?
Hi, I am here, Diane.
Thank you very much. We also had Nick Dominelli from Councillor Cynthia Lai's office listed with us. Nick, are you there?
I am here.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Diane?
I do have a question, Madam Chair, and it's with regards to variance number 3, the roof eaves projecting 0.08 meters from the east lot line. Now, Diane, I generally don't like to see eaves that are encroaching that close to your neighboring property for the sole purpose of stormwater management and drainage. Each individual lot is supposed to retain their own overland flow, and my concern with it being literally inches away from the neighboring dwelling to the east, that your drainage would end up overflowing onto their property. Is there anything that can be done to bring this this eaves a little bit closer to the requirement of 0.9? Is there any sort of internal layout revisions where you can just possibly modify the internal layout to just bring that eave a little bit closer within your property limit?
What I like to clarify first of all is the existing neighbors of the eaves. All of the closest one that we're pointing to belongs to the garage next to each other. So our garage is next to the garage on your west side. So it's existing, right? The distance is very, very little. But when we are doing the new addition, we can do our best to maneuver and make it as minute as possible away from keeping a bigger distance between neighbor.
Right, so I recognize the existing condition, but we as a committee tend to not like to exasperate an existing condition. So as you are building a new addition, it would be best if you could try to comply with that 0.9. Are you willing to do that for the new portion of the construction?
Yes, if that is something that we will have to look into, we'll definitely do our best to keep it as far of a distance as possible.
Through you, Madam Chair, we do need to establish a number.
Yes.
So what I'm proposing is that we are okay with approving relief of the existing condition to the garage. However, it would be my preference if you were able to revisit your plans to comply with the 0.9 for the new construction.
Okay, and if that's the case, Member M, I just want to point out that that would mean that this variance will no longer be required.
No, it will still be required to recognize the existing condition of the garage.
Okay, so I suggest that this is getting into a little bit more debate. I suggest we hold it down to better understand what's existing and what's being changed. So my preference would be to hold this down and come back to it, because we need to get through the agenda, and this
All right.
requires more discussion.
I was okay to move forward with just that change, but if you feel that it needs further discussion beyond that change.
Yeah, okay. So, so I think, Diane, you heard that there are some changes that are being discussed at this time. So we would hold down this item and come back to it to discuss this further. Okay, thank you. Okay. Members of the committee, during the vetting session, I would prefer if the questions are very minor in nature and we don't get into the specifics of sort of redesigning. Okay. 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 All right. So item number 15, 18 Fulham Street. 18 Fulham Street is an application to construct one-story pool enclosure addition to the existing detached dwelling. And we have before us 5 variances related to that. We have Mohammed Latif as the agent. Mohammed, are you with us?
Hello? Yes,
Yes.
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
thank you, and we do not have any other party listed with us. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Mohammed at this time? If there are no questions, may I have a mover and a seconder to this application?
Madam Chair, I put forward a recommendation of approval. I don't see any conditions, and the reason I feel is that there are still appropriate setbacks that are being considered after the one-story addition is introduced to the lot, and that it is one story, so there's not a significant height impact as a result of it. There is still a fair amount of uncovered lot still that I see as soft landscaping, so I do feel that this is an appropriate application, and I am recommending approval.
Thank you. May I have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I'll second that approval.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, so Member Macaulay opposes the application. The application has been approved, and there are no conditions.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we now move to item number 16. Item 16 is for 2350 Birchmount Road. And we have the application that's before us is to construct an enclosure over an existing parking garage ramp to shield it from the elements. And there is one variance that's before us. We have Jason Gerard listed as the agent. Jason, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do we have any questions for Gerard? Oh, sorry, for Jason. Just want to confirm, are there any conditions? There is a condition of urban forestry. And Jason, are you aware of that condition?
Yes, we're aware. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? And if not, may I have a mover and a seconder?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve this application, subject to the urban forestry condition.
Thank you. Have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Member Macaulay seconds it. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and your application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay. We now move to item number 17. Item number 17 is for 628 Birchmount Road, and it is to permit a new rear deck. That's, again, currently under construction, and there are two variances before us. We have listed with us Deborah John as the agent. Deborah, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Members of the committee, before we do have a staff report from community planning, and they are recommending a condition. Deborah, have you read the community planning report and reviewed the condition?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And we will comply with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Deborah? If there are no questions, then may I have a mover and a seconder?
Through you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval subject to the planning conditions for privacy screening.
And actually, there is an urban forestry.
Oh, and urban forestry conditions.
And Deborah, are you aware of the urban forestry condition?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to the recommendation or the condition that is being recommended in staff report from community planning and the condition of urban forestry. We have a seconder on this application?
Madam Chair, I'll second that approval with those appropriate conditions, yes.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried, Deborah, with the conditions as mentioned.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, item 18 was deferred. Item number 19 is for 9 LEESWOOD Crescent, and this is an application to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling, and there is one variance that's before us. We have with us listed Yasu Somalingam as the agent. Yasu, are you with us?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Chair and the committee members.
Okay, thank you very much. We also have Nick as the from the Councillor Cynthia's office. Nick, are you with us?
I am, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Through the chair, can you ask Mr. Dominelli if he has a position on this application or if he wishes to speak?
Thank you. So, Mr. Dominelli, do you have a position on this application, or you wish to speak to this application?
At this time, the counselor's office doesn't have a position. However, if there is opposition to it, we'd like to hear the opposition before we take a position.
Sorry, could you speak a bit louder? I'm sorry, we didn't catch you.
At this time, can you hear me now?
Better,
At
yes.
this time, the counselor doesn't have a position. However, we want to see how much opposition, if there is any.
Okay, all right. So, as you know, we're vetting this session, so we will now go to the committee members. Committee members, do you have any questions for Yasu? If there are no questions, and we do not have any party listed in opposition to this application, Mr. Dominelli, so I can confirm that. Members of the committee, if there are no questions, may I have a motion just to look at the conditions? We do have a condition from Urban Forestry. And Yasu, you are aware of the condition of Urban Forestry?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
We'll comply to that.
perfect, thank you.
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this application, subject to the conditions of urban forestry. I recognize that this is a similar new dwelling, similar to others being built on that street.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve the application, subject to condition of Urban Forestry, seconded by
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Member M seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. Yasu, your application has been approved, subject to condition of Urban Forestry.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. We now move to item number 20. Item number 20 is 40 Pacino Boulevard, an application to construct a new two-story detached dwelling, and we have before us 4 variances. We have listed with us the agent as Nicole Parr. Nicole, are you there with us?
Through the chair, this person was logged in earlier, but no longer is.
Okay, all right. We also have the owner, Anton Suakin Pillai. Are you there?
Yes, hello. Hi, sorry. So this is actually Nicole. I wasn't sure how to log in, so I just put both of us as one person. So Anton/Nicole.
Okay, so Nicole, you are there then. Okay.
Yes, sorry about that confusion.
Okay, no problem. And Vincent Woodruff, are you with us, Vincent?
Through the chair, this person has not logged in today.
Okay. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Nicole at this time? Before I proceed, I just want to confirm one thing, Mr. Ramdale. If we do not have this person right now, do you think it's adequate, appropriate to hold this down to give an opportunity to Vincent to?
What I think is fair is that if you want to go through some of the other items
And then come
back, and if he's not there, then proceed with considering
decision?
the
Okay.
application.
All right, so we just want to make sure we give enough time to Vincent to be able to log in if he has having any difficulty in logging in. We will continue, so we will not hold this item, but we have a couple of other items to go through to vet the agenda, and then we will check in again to see if Vincent's there. So Nicole, just bear with us, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So item number, do you want to say anything?
What I did want to add to the committee through the chair is that this person, Mr. Woodruff, has submitted a letter in opposition. So if he is not available later on, the letter should stand for itself.
Okay, thank you very much. So something for committee's consideration. But we still will come back and check in again. So, Mr. Woodruff, if you're listening to us and if you wish to come back in and speak with us, in addition to what you've submitted to us, please do so. You have a few minutes before we get into committee. Item number 21 is 21 Willow Lee Drive. And 21 Willow Lee Drive is to construct a new detached garage in the rear yard. And we have before us 2 variances. We have listed as the agent Eddie Perez. Eddie, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Members of the committee, we have Eddie with us. Any questions for Eddie at this time?
Madam Chair, I have some questions for Eddie, and I would like to be able to hold this item so that we can discuss the application.
Okay, so Eddie, members of the committee have some questions for you, so we will hold down this item and come back to it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just be with us. Item number 22, this is 58 Birchmount Road. This is an application to construct a new two-story, two-unit detached dwelling, and we have 5 variances for this application. We have David Smith listed as the agent. David, are you with us?
I am, Madam Chair. Good morning.
Good morning. We have listed with us Lauren and Danielle Salmon, and they have not logged in yet.
Through the chair, they have not logged in.
Okay, thank you. Vanessa Curia, are you with us?
Through the chair, she is not logged in today.
Okay, I believe Vanessa and Todd were kind of together. So Todd Burden, are you with us?
Yes, Vanessa and I are both here.
Okay, thank you very much. And we also have Philip Lee Shannock. Are you with us?
Present.
Okay. And you would like to speak to the committee on this application, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, and the same for Todd and Vanessa, you'd like to speak to this application?
Yes, we'd like to speak to the application. Yes.
Okay, all right, so we will hold down this item and come back to it for further discussion. Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end of the agenda to vet the items. I will recap the items that have been held. So we have held 46, this is item number 3, 46 Guild Hall Drive. Item number 4, 147 Haileybury Drive. Item number 7, 10 Glen Everest Road. Item number 13, 10 Emmott Avenue. Item number 14, 44 Whitley Castle Crescent. Item number 20, 40 Pacino Boulevard.
Through you, Madam Chair, we haven't held item 20.
Yes, thank you. That reminded me of confirming. So let's just confirm. So we've held item 21 and 22 as well. So I'm coming back to item number 20, 40 Pacino Boulevard. We were waiting to see if Vincent Woodruff had joined. Okay. So Mr. Woodruff has not been able to connect with us. We gave enough time and opportunity. Members of the committee, we have his written submission that we've reviewed. Committee, do you have any questions of Nicole at this time? If not, may I have a mover and seconder on this application?
Through you, Madam Chair, does Nicole, is she aware of the urban forestry conditions?
Yes, and I've also consulted my arborist, Miley and Associates, and we've discussed that we'll add Mr. Woodruff's notes into the arborist report and take special care of those roots. And our arborist is willing to work with him, so we know we'll have to work with urban forestry as well, and that sounds great.
Okay, thank you. So through you, Madam Chair, I'm prepared to put forward a motion of approval, as I do not feel that maple tree will have to come down as a result of this construction, and the applicant is aware of the additional concerns with regards to those trees and will be satisfying urban forestry conditions, so I'm prepared to put forward a motion of approval.
You have a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and your application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you for reminding that, Member M. So I think we've recapped all the items that have been held. The first item that we will now go into discussion is item number 3, 46 Guild Hall Drive. This is an application to construct a new story detached dwelling, and we have 6 variances before us. We did the roll call, and we had pretty much everyone that was listed here. Stepan, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We're having a little difficulty hearing you. Could you come a little closer to the mic? And
I'll try to speak up, sorry.
okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Before we begin, members of the committee, do we have any questions for Stepan, or would you like to have a presentation on this item? How would you like to proceed?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't have particular questions, but I do have commentary with regards to the height.
Sure. Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to clarify for those of you who are joining us online that there are several variances that are geared towards the total height of the building. The first is variance 2, which proposes that the maximum height is a 0.55 meter deviation from the existing standard. Now, there is another variance with clause 6, which committee, I think we are a little bit confused as to exactly the difference between variance 6 and variance 3, which is variance 2 and variance 6, because one does state that the building height is 9.55, whereas the other one states that the building height is 0.62. And now, when I do look at the drawings, I do see that this is not. This is a peaked roof, is that correct? Yes, okay. So my question is to staff, but I think it's really, we have to rely on the zoning notice, but it could potentially, the difference between these two heights could be how that was calculated, whether it be not from the midpoint of the roof or possibly from a different point of the grade, is that correct?
So maybe it's a question for staff to confirm?
It might be, but I can't. I'm not. I don't have the authority to provide zoning interpretations. Okay. But I think what we do need to do is rely on the zoning notice that is before you.
Okay, I understand. And then ultimately,
but you may also want to ask the applicant.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say that.
The question if they are comfortable with the requested variances.
Stepan, can you provide any clarity as to why we have 2 variances that seemingly read very similar?
Yes, so one is due to Toronto-wide zoning bylaw, and the other one is due to Scarborough zoning.
I see.
They calculated differently from where the
is that what it is? Then there's a...
I see. Okay, so I guess in the notice it was identified both as the citywide bylaw, hence the confusion. Now, Mr. Secretary, does that provide any issue with our notice?
So there is. I am reviewing the zoning notice that Toronto Buildings did prepare. It's correct. The label. That variance number 6 is actually related to the Scarborough zoning bylaw. Okay. But if you look at it, really, the intent.
Yes, the intent is the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
And I know I'm familiar with the Scarborough bylaw that it does measure height in a different fashion
Correct.
as the citywide. So that's why we're getting a different number. Okay, so thank you for that clarification. So essentially it comes down to whether we as a committee feel comfortable with that additional height, whether it be 0.62 or 0.55. It's just a matter of how that is measured.
It's just a difference in numerical value. At the end of the day, it'll just be one height.
Okay, thank you.
And it was just an error on the notice, which I think is, in my opinion, not a big issue, as it's the intent of the bylaw has been put forward. There's no error in the number per se. It's just that reference is incorrect.
Okay, I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions for Stepan? Okay. All right. So no further questions for Stepan. Stepan, would you like to say anything before we proceed to the the neighbors.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on the reasoning behind the variances. So the height is due to the style of the house. I think.
Could you speak a bit louder? And it's a little, sorry, Stefan, to interrupt you. There's a little bit of a muffled. Speak louder, and there's a little bit of a muffling there.
So the height is due to the style of the house. We are close to the required number for the height of the walls, but for the gables and the style of the house, we are proposing increase to the building height, and the variances for lot coverage and the depth is due to the lot shape. The lot on the west side decreases towards the back, so then I have to break up the facade of the building. But the house itself is not a large house. I think it's typical medium-sized house.
Okay.
And I am aware of some concerns from the neighbors. I don't know if you want me to address them now.
It's up to you, unless you want to first hear the concerns and then comment on it, so that will be more comprehensive.
Okay, sure.
Okay. All right. So, so if there are no further questions from the committee, let's move on to speaking with the residents. So the first one we have is James Elliott. James, are you with us from 48 Guildhall? Okay. Thank you. So James, the floor is yours. What are your concerns with this application?
I put in a request through Catherine, and my first concern was privacy, that he doesn't put windows looking down in my yard. And the second concern was previous owner dug out and replaced the weeping tile, and my driveway shifted all over. And I just want some kind of assurance that he's going to be responsible and either shore it or, you know, just bring the matter forward, that he's taking the old building away. And I just need to know that mine isn't going, my yard isn't going to shift over towards him.
Okay, so James, just so you know, those matters are beyond the jurisdiction of this committee. We really can't comment on the construction details and then matters as you pointed out. We can certainly talk about the variances and any concerns that you may have with the particular variance. And just so you know, if the committee approves this and if it goes to the building permit department for a permit, the building department will certainly look at it to ensure that there are no impacts of this development on adjacent property, and the grading and all those matters that you're discussing in terms of foundation works will be looked after by the building permit through their detailed technical review of the application. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Then I have no concerns other than what I've put forward, but
okay,
it'll be held,
okay.
It'll be taken up with a different department. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, so when it comes to foundations and grading and the engineering details and the impact of construction on adjacent properties, it's the building department, and through the review of the building permit application, they will ensure whatever measures need to be in place, they will ensure those are in place, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
The other concern, and so we have reviewed your objection letter. That's on file and record with us. If you have nothing further to add, then we will move on.
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your time, James. The other resident that we have listed here is Ewan Oliveira. Ewan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you, Ewan. Okay, so please go ahead and let us know of your concerns.
Okay, well, as I just heard the previous conversations, these aren't really variant things, but there is something that was on the paper that you sent me saying that some sheds were going to be removed, but there was one that was not on there, which is a shed or some sort of a shack that the previous owner has bolted and attached to a fence that I own. And so I'm concerned is the new owner going to be fixing that? I also want to know, you say you're removing the pool, which actually isn't illegal because it's not fenced around there, and the dirt they piled up in the back of our adjoining properties and have raised his ground up. I'm also concerned about all of the trees because I already have a house next to me where they tore trees down. I want to know if the trees are going to be removed in the back, and they also have planted a tree since I have moved here that is now leaning on, again, a fence that I own that is leaning on my fence. So I want to know those things. I know it's going to be a 2-story house, but it is also going to be widened because I see there's a variance to widen the driveway. Why, I don't know, because that driveway can fit a lot of cars as it is. So I want to know, I understand that the house is going 2 stories up, but are they also widening the property of the house and also lengthwise? Is it going to be big width that way?
Okay, so I don't see any variance related to the driveway width. There's a variance for the lot coverage, for building height, max, and then the building length and building depth. I don't see any variance related to the driveway, but we can certainly talk about it. The matters that you've raised with respect to removal of the shed or the pool, we can certainly get some clarification from the agent, but none of those are listed as part of the variances. So we will get some clarification from the owner or the agent.
And that's correct. It's really outside of the jurisdiction of the committee.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I was trying to explain that. But we can certainly get some answers for you, Yvonne. But those are not part of the variances that are before us. So removal of the sheds or removal of structures or pools, trees for sure. We will get some clarification on the trees. There are comments from Urban Forestry. Urban Forestry has looked at the plans and they are recommending some conditions. So we will talk about that as well. And before you leave, we have a question or a comment from Member M.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. While the removal of the sheds aren't directly related to the variance, there is some impact to the variance because I believe they will have to remove those sheds because it would contribute to their overall lot coverage. And so since they're already requesting relief from that lot coverage, I think that to ensure they have sort of enough open space, that's why they're removing those sheds. So I just want to clarify with the applicant, it shows as 2 sheds. And as per Yvonne's comments, I want to know, is there 3? Is that really the question here?
Okay, so just bear with me. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Yes. In the northwest corner, they are not showing anything. Like I know from looking there in the previous owners, he had some sort of shed, shacks, pool things or something. But in the back left corner, which is the northwest corner, he has built some sort of monstrosity of pieces of wood that he has bolted onto our fence, and it's leaning on our fence. He does not own that, it's ours. And that's not on that diagram that you're showing right now, and that's what's my concern. I would like it removed, and I'd like them to take that off my fence and to fix my fence.
So this is a question for staff. I can't recall, was there a zoning waiver or was there a zoning notice that was prepared with this application?
Through the chair, there was a zoning notice that was prepared.
So then I guess the zoning notice would only have been able to rely on the documents that were submitted. So my concern here is if we are to move forward with these variances, they could be impacted if there is additional structures on the property that are not captured as part of this review. So do we rely on the building department to catch that? Or is this something that we should request deferral for to get clarification on what is actually truly on the site?
So basically, before we do that, Member M, we've heard from the the neighbor, but we haven't had a chance to speak with the owner yet or the
Right.
agent yet to get clarification. So before we proceed to that level, let's first give everyone an equal chance, to be fair.
Right. Okay. No, I just want to make sure because it does actually impact the coverage variance.
It
so-
does, but based on what we have in front of us, we have to rely, but we will certainly seek clarification. And if there is some ambiguity around that issue that may impact lot coverage, to your point, we will certainly debate on that matter when it comes to it.
Thank you.
Okay. So Yvonne, we heard your concerns. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we move on?
I guess it's just like, I do see that there's the removal of the pool. I can't see from what was mailed to me, is like the variance of the house going further into the backyard.
So the pool, removal of the pool, again, is not part of our jurisdiction. It's not under jurisdiction. The house that is being, so you received the plans, the new plan for the house? Did you not receive that?
I just really only received one site plan, one piece of paper.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's what we have as well. So we have this, are you able to see the screen?
I'm sorry?
Are you able to see the screen right now?
Oh,
Or are you?
a little bit. I'm on my phone, so it's kind of tiny, but yes.
Okay, so what we have before, so our staff is helping us to show where the existing pool is. You see the red line that has just been drawn on the site plan. That's where the existing pool is. And you can see, the extent of the extension of the house at the back,
I see,
which is that dark bold. Could you
dark gold. Okay.
yeah, that line.
perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That answers my question.
Okay,
Okay.
that's great. All right, so is there anything else we can help you?
How do I find out about the removal of the trees? And if you could just confirm how, I think you said you were going to let the owner or agent
Yes.
speak about that shed thing? Okay.
Yes, so we will ask the owner. Yeah, so we will ask the owner about the shed issue that you've raised. We will confirm which trees are being removed, and you just saw what's happening with the pool. Yes, please.
We can certainly do that, or the committee can certainly do that. I will say, though, that in terms of the building and it being attached to your fence, that is a civil matter that's outside of the jurisdiction of the committee.
Perfect. Okay. So we got some advice from staff, and then I do agree with it that when it comes to matters such as you raised, where you suggest that a part of your building is tied to the fence or there's some connection there, that's a civil matter that you have to discuss with your neighbor. And try to sort it out. That's beyond the jurisdiction of this committee. What the committee can do is, as we just discussed, answer your questions related to the application and help you understand what's happening there. Okay?
So does the neighbor live in the house where I could discuss him removing that from my fence? I don't know that.
We can ask the owner or the agent when they come again to speak.
Okay.
Isn't there also bylaw? Like, could she not submit a request with
It's a
bylaw?
civil matter.
Okay.
It's a civil matter.
She could contact municipal licensing and standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, 311. Call 311
And
ask
file a complaint. Yeah.
Correct. But you know what? The applicant is here right now,
Yeah.
so.
And this is what I'm trying to get to is that let's give the applicant an opportunity to respond to all these concerns. And then once we have a better picture, then we can direct them. Member Macaulay.
Yes, I would like to ask the applicant if he could, with the drawing that has been submitted, if he could confirm whether all buildings on the property are going to be removed. Also, I had a question about the easement and the building that is on this property and extending over the easement. If he would just clarify who has that easement and has he got approval to remove that building as well?
We will come to the applicant. Before I went to the residents, I asked the committee members if they had any questions. I will certainly bring that up again when we come back to the applicant. So just walk through the order for now. Thank you, Yvonne. Anything further, or can we move?
Okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne.
Thanks for your time.
No problem. We talked to James, we talked to Yvonne, there's nobody else. So we're going to go back to Stepan again. Stepan, are you there? I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it correctly.
Yes, I'm here.
Is it Stefan or Stepan?
Yeah, you're saying it right.
Okay, Stepan.
Stepan.
Stefan, okay. All right, Stefan. So you heard the concerns from both James and Yvonne. James had some concerns about the height in his letter, as he has submitted. He understood the foundation repairs and impact of this development on the property. And being a good neighbor, I would certainly recommend that you reach out to James and speak to him and give him the assurances that he needs with respect to construction activities on the property. And then Yvonne had concerns about, as well as committee members, need some clarification on the structures that are being removed on the property. We understand the pool will be removed, and if you can confirm which trees are being removed or replaced.
Sure. I can definitely answer on that.
Could you again, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you again. Can you speak
I
through?
get my information. Yeah, I get my information from the property survey that was done by a professional surveyor. So I didn't see any other sheds than what I've presented there, but I can definitely answer that all the sheds will be removed.
Can we have the survey on?
And all the structures that has been built illegally will be removed because we have opportunity here.
Okay. Stepan, we can barely understand you. So what I'm going to suggest is if you can double check your mic, please. Or call in. If you can call in.
I'll call in. If you give me 2 minutes, I'll call in.
There's a bit of a muffling. It sounds like there's some muffling there. Can't hear you clearly.
Okay, I'll call in right now. Sorry.
Yeah, please call in.
Can you just pan down so I can see the area to the north? So yeah, it doesn't show that shed as well.
Okay, so what I suggest is we confirm all the structures that are there.
But he's going to take down all of those structures.
Turn off the mic, please.
He said that he's relying on the survey, and the survey doesn't have it. So I'm not comfortable personally because she clearly says that there's something.
Are you with us, Stepan?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect, much better. Sorry about that. So Stepan, you heard the concern. So committee would like to get some clarification on the structures on the property and confirmation that all structures are going to be removed from this property.
That's right. So all the structures will be removed. So I get my information from a property survey, and that's all the sheds that I've seen in there. There's also a shed that's been built illegally in between the properties. So when the owner bought this house, he bought it as is. So now there's the opportunity to clean up the site and make sure all the structures are legal.
Okay, so the site will be cleaned up. All legal or illegal structures will be removed, right?
Yeah.
And that the requested variances, as pointed out by Member M, for your lot coverage will remain at 39%, and this is based on the new built only.
That's right. That's the dwelling and I think the covered deck in the back. That
Okay.
makes up the 39%.
Okay, all right. So we heard that. Any clarification, any further clarification required from the applicant on this?
I believe we were supposed to clarify the trees and which ones are to be removed.
For the survey, so we're good with the survey and the structures, and we've all agreed, or at least got the confirmation that it's a new build, everything will be cleaned up, and the lot coverage is associated with the new build only. Okay, now, the second point is the trees. Can you identify the trees that are being removed, or in your discussions with urban forestry, what are the conditions?
Yeah, so there are no large trees that we are removing. There's one large tree in the front that we will keep. There are some smaller trees in the back. There is, I think, one dead tree that we will remove and replace.
Is there a site plan that we can pull up?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just trying to understand why on the site plan only some trees are shown then.
Only the large trees are shown. There are smaller trees in the back, I think, and those might not be in our property too. So I am only showing the larger trees that need permit to be removed.
I see.
Okay, all right. And urban forestry has looked at your plan, and they have a condition, I believe, right, to obtain a permit to remove or injure a tree.
Yeah, and we're in support of the conditions.
Okay, all right. So is there anything else you need on the trees?
Madam Chairman, again, just a clarification. The property, well, I understand it's an existing property with an existing old house on it and some other buildings. Is this property totally fenced so that people can determine where the property line is? I'm thinking the people to the north and the people on the other side, and that building that has been built partly on this property and partly on the adjacent property. Is this whole area fenced, or is this open so that it's not clear where the property lines are?
The property is fenced on the north side and the east side. On the west side, I think the fence is on in between. There's the easement, I think,
Yes.
between the properties. So there's a chain link fence in the center. I think it's shown on the site plan.
Okay.
But we will to answer also the neighbor, we will replace the fence in the north side.
All right, so as part of your new build, you're going to be maintaining the tree in the front yard. You won't necessarily be planting any new trees in the backyard, and you will be tearing down all the existing structures on the site. Is that correct?
Yeah, we will probably replant one of the smaller trees in the back.
Okay.
Because one is dead, I think, or in a bad condition that needs to be. I think that's the tree that the neighbor was referring to. That's been leaning on the fence, so we will replace that tree.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay. If you look at the site plan, I think it clearly shows what structures are, pretty much everything's being removed, and including the one that's not shown. So, and we have confirmation on the trees and the fences as well. Okay, any further questions? Okay, and we also had the TRCA comment, and there's no objection from TRCA as well, and no permit is required. Okay. If there are no further questions, then are we prepared to move forward a motion?
Through you, Madam Chair, with the clarification that we had received through this very fulsome discussion, I'm much more comfortable with the variances that are before us today, and I do feel that they do represent a very incremental increase from the standards, and I do feel that I can support support those, and that many of the concerns that were identified through both written submission as well as verbal commentary today are unfortunately not part of the jurisdiction of this committee, and unfortunately we cannot it doesn't, yeah, it's not part of the variances before us, so we will have to just proceed with what we have jurisdiction over, and in my opinion, I feel that we should recommend approval.
Okay. May I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chairman, I'm willing to recommend approval. I'm taking some comfort from the applicant who has said that this is a complete rebuild on this property. And so a number of the issues that we can't address, but the neighbors have concerns with, should be addressed through the rebuild.
Okay.
I seek to modify my motion. I forgot to mention the urban forestry conditions. So I recommend approval subject to urban forestry conditions.
Okay, and seconded as well?
Yes.
All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. And for those matters that were outside of the jurisdiction of this committee, I would highly recommend both the resident who was here as well as the owner to discuss the matters and sort out the issues collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do a 5-minute nature break before we proceed to item number 4. So 5 minutes, committee. We go for a nature break. Thank you. Okay. Oh, we're waiting for Brian. Ready? Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We will now start with item number 4. Item number 4 is 147 Haileybury Drive. And I will confirm the people in attendance. Leo, the agent.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of feedback coming in from the background, so you may want to check your settings. Okay, it's, yeah. Are you connected via a couple of devices or just one device, Leo?
Just one device.
There's a lot of echo in the background. There's two. Okay, what we see in our system is that you're logged in through two paths.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Hello?
Much better.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's much better. Thank you. Thank you, Leo.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry about that.
no problem. And then we have Marcia Stiles.
Yes, I am here.
Thank you. And we also had Ihor from the counselor's office. Ihor?
Here as well.
Okay, thank you, Ihor. Thank you very much. Before we begin, this is an application to construct a second-story addition over the existing dwelling and a new two-story east side addition. And the proposed second suite will be located in the new second floor with access from the front. And we have before us 8 variances. Members of the committee, would you like to have a presentation from Leo, or would you like to pose any questions?
Madam Chairman, could we have a short presentation from Leo, please?
Okay, so Leo, there's a request for a short presentation. I'll give you 5 minutes for your presentation. Please go ahead.
Yes. After reading the letters of opposition and the concerns, we've spoke to the owner, and we're going to remove variance number 7 and variance number 8.
So variance number 7, the eaves of a roof may encroach into a required minimum setback. That's being removed. And the number 8, which relates to the permitted area for the platform.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So members of the committee, you're clear on that? The 2 variances, 7 and 8, are being removed.
Yes, and then if I could just talk again regarding the variances themselves. So variance number 1, when we're going from 33 to 36, I believe is minor in nature. Variance number 2, although we have 0.59 at the front, at the rear we have 0.9 because the lot goes on a little bit of an angle.
Sorry.
And there's an existing shed there currently that is only 0.45 from the property line. If you look at the original survey.
Okay, let's just bear with us. We're pulling up the plans.
Sure.
Brian, can you pull up the plan, please, for us? That's okay. Take your time. It's perfect. Yeah. I think it really helps. Thank you. No, this is good.
So if we pull up not the site plan, but the existing survey, the survey of the property, we should have not on.
I didn't see a survey.
You don't?
At least I don't see that. Which number would that be?
There's no number because it's a survey
I
done
see.
by Vlad Dodger. Yeah, there it is there, that one.
Okay.
So you see there's a frame shed in the back behind our carport. That is currently at 0.48 meters from the side lot line. So we are bringing it in.
Oh, okay.
At the back, we're going to be at 0.9. If you go now to my A1, so if you go to my A1 at the back, so we've doubled that setback to 0.9 at the back, but the variance at 0.59 is at the front of that proposed addition, just in front of the covered car parking there.
So
I just wanted to.
So it varies from 0.59 to 0.9. Is that what you're saying? The narrowest is 0.59?
Yes, and at the rear it's 0.9, correct.
Okay.
And then as far as the number 3 and number 4, they have to do with the door. So if you go to my A3 drawing. So the door we set the door back so that the entrance for the second unit is behind the carport, which I spoke to planning and they have no concerns about that. And also in the report, they have no concerns with that proposal whatsoever.
Okay, all right.
And then as far as the number 6, where the parking space is not located beyond the front wall, if you pull back A1 and zoom that up, you see the dotted line. So our rear parking is in line with the porch. So it's only a portion, about 1 meter, that sticks out beyond the front wall. But if you pull up A4 is our second floor. See how the second floor juts out. So in reality, our front wall is that projection above the porch that sticks out, and our parking is within that setback from our front wall on the second floor. So I think it's more of a technical issue. Because if you, hello?
Yes, we are here with you.
So because it's a technical issue, if we consider our front wall, that second floor that juts out above the porch, then our parking is fully beyond that point.
Okay. Committee, any questions on that one?
I do have a comment, Madam Chair, about the sheds. Now, I understand that
On this particular one, the one that he was describing on the parking space.
Yes. Can I ask a question here? On the parking space, I understand what he's saying is that the second floor extends out, and so the new carport is totally within the building setback. But I thought the issue was the width of the parking space.
Well, that is one of the variances, but transportation does not have an issue with the width. They just wanted it to be beyond the front wall. But if you consider our second floor the front wall, then we are beyond the front wall.
But your parking space is 2.9 meters versus 3.2 in width?
In width.
And is that sufficient? This is a full parking space, or it's a carport. So it would be open on one side so that if you get the car in there, you can actually open the door?
Correct.
Because there's no wall, I'm assuming. As long as you park it properly so that the door is nowhere near the supports.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate here, transportation memo that was submitted to us had concerns with the,
Through the chair, can you confirm with the applicant that the applicant has received the revised memo dated today? It's uploaded on the application information center, but
yes,
you have, okay.
I have it.
okay, so we have,
I have it, but
as of today, we received, go ahead.
So it says the conclusion is that they have no objection to variance number 5, but recommends that to modify the entire parking to be beyond the front wall. But as I was saying, if we consider the second floor the main wall, then it is beyond the front wall.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's clear now.
I think maybe the zoning maybe made a mistake. I'm not sure, but I can clarify that after today's hearing.
Okay, thank you. But they go on to say on that basis, we have no objection to variance number 5.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess then they have no concerns. Whatever was decided or analyzed, the conclusion is that on that basis, they have no objections to variance number 5. Okay? But they still maintain their position on variance number 6, which is the extension of the location of the parking space beyond or within the front yard, okay? But as Leo explained, if you consider the second floor projection that is in line with the main wall and the parking space is beneath that cantilevered portion, if I would say.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I think we had a good
Madam Chair,
understanding.
I got another question here.
Another question.
I believe the issue here is that because we got two units, we need two parking spaces. One parking space we talked about is the parking space in the carport. And that, he's explained about the main wall. I'm reading the transportation comments that talk about the width of that one. We had some clarification of that. But the second parking space, I believe, is in the front yard.
There is no requirement for a second parking space. We are exempt. We have no variance for a second parking spot.
And there is
So
no
there's only
variance, yeah.
one-
There is no variance before us.
We only need one parking spot for 2 units now. They changed the zoning bylaw.
Okay, so
Through the chair, we need to, we have to rely on the interpretation of Toronto buildings.
Sorry, I need to go back to this main wall. I'm seeing on drawing A4, unless I'm interpreting these floor plans wrong, that there is a bump out above that projection. And so that's why it's a main wall, is because there's actual square footage there. It's not just a projection for a canopy. So you have a dining room bump out there. So that's why, sir, that's considered the main wall. Anything that has space, like livable GFA space, behind a wall that is the closest to your front lot line will be considered your main wall.
but it's on the second floor, not on grade.
It doesn't matter. It's
Okay,
still.
so here's the thing. We cannot interpret zoning here. We cannot interpret what's the main,
So zoning has interpreted it to be the main wall, correct? Okay, so I am in agreement with zoning that that is the correct way to measure the main wall. Okay, that's what I needed to clarify.
The main wall is not, we don't stick beyond that second floor projection. We're within that second floor projection.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the dining room space, sir. I'm clear on my understanding now. Thank you.
Okay.
It's one thing if it was just a canopy.
Well, I think the second floor is an actual,
It's actual living space. And
Yes.
if you look at the
Yeah.
elevation, so obviously it's counted as part of the front wall.
right, and so the carport is totally in there.
Behind it, yeah.
But the second issue, and I'm reading number 2 on the comments, and I'm reading number 2 of the transportation memorandum just received today that talks about a parking space located in the front yard. And that's one of the variances requested, a parking space to be located in the front yard.
Yes, can I explain that? Hello?
yes, please go ahead. Please explain, Leo.
Okay, so because the zoning examiner considered the main wall being the ground floor, only a portion of the parking would be beyond in the front yard. But if you look at the second floor, our parking is completely within our front wall if we consider the second floor our main wall. So what they're talking about is a portion, only about a meter sticking out from the ground floor. But at the second floor, we're fully beyond it.
Okay.
Because our,
So I think, Leo, what you're trying to explain is where you're trying to justify that it's within sort of the portion that's being built upon, but as we see that the bylaw cannot be changed, right? A front yard is a front yard, a main wall is a main wall, and what's been determined as a front yard remains to be a front yard. How you you maneuver that on the second floor, that's a design thing, right? But a front wall is a front wall. So the bottom line is that the parking space, a portion, 1.2 meters, as I think you said, is located within the front yard. What happens above that, that's beyond our, we're not talking about that. Okay. Okay.
It's just a portion of our parking that's in the front yard.
Yeah, so
but
we-
it's
yeah.
within the second floor front wall.
Yeah, that's a design merit, but I think the bottom line is the zoning, and the zoning requires it to be within the front yard. The variance before us is that a little portion of that parking is within the front yard.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Committee, any questions on that? Member M, you had some questions on some sheds on the property?
I just wanted to state a comment. So part of your justification, Leo, was that there's existing sheds there that are at that sort of setback. And I just wanted to state that it's not comparable. Two small little sheds is not the same as building a two-story addition. So while I appreciate that there's an existing setback at that point, there is still an impact as a result of building that side yard addition.
There is an impact, yes, but we're only about a meter beyond that building to the east. And we do have a support letter from 145 to the west.
Yeah, my concern is the other neighbor, 149, who is most impacted by that addition.
But did we receive any objection from 149?
Well, there's a hell of a lot of objections. There was 27 objections. I can't recall the addresses of them all, but I'm just stating my point that while there were sheds there, and it's not apples to apples to say a two-story addition to the line of the sheds are the same. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right. Before we proceed, Leo, you've seen the community planning report from both this as well as from June 29th?
Yes, community planning has no concerns now that we removed variance number 8. The only concern was to provide screening on the deck, which we are now removing.
Okay. All right. And then you are aware of the condition that has been recommended?
Yes.
Okay. And that is to tie the plans to the decision, whatever the committee makes, and then the owner to provide the permanent solid screening.
Correct, but we're removing that variance.
Oh, you're removing that variance. Okay, so that's tied to that one. Okay. Got you. Okay, so that condition is no longer applicable because variance number 8 is being removed, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think we've had a good discussion. I'm sure there will be more opportunities to get some more clarification. In the interest of time, we will move to Marcia Stiles, who was the interested party wishing to speak.
Oh, just quickly, Madam Chair, 149 does have opposition. She signed the petition letter.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Amy. Sorry, Amy.
Hello?
Marcia, yes, please.
Yes, okay. I live at 137 HAILEYBURY, which is 5 houses away. 149 is on this petition.
Okay, thank you.
I have lived here for 30 years. And I represent the 28 people that signed this petition that represents the number of houses that surround this block. The owner, the applicant of this particular property, a month or so ago, knocked on a few doors and told them all he wanted to do was put a second floor on his house. Didn't tell them anything else except that it was going to be a family house, single family house, which it certainly is not now. They didn't see any objection to a second floor on his house for a single family. And they do
Zoning bylaw. I totally appreciate your concerns with respect to location of that parking or projection of that parking in the front yard, but the required parking is one space and which is being provided.
This is not going to be a single family home.
We cannot.
It's going to be two apartments.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say is that This property is zoned to permit a single detached dwelling, and that's what's being proposed. Number of bedrooms is nothing
That's
to.
not what it is.
Okay,
It's obvious that it's a second-story, self-contained unit. Why else would it have its own furnace, its own hot water, and its own stairwell from the street?
Through the chair, a second story is permitted in detached dwellings, subject to meeting certain requirements.
You mean a second dwelling unit?
she's referring to the second. So there's the application is also, well, not the application, but the development is also including a second suite which will be located in a second floor. And as we heard, and as we know that there's no requirement for 2 parking spaces for this property, regardless of the fact that there are 2 units being proposed, the 1 parking space that is being proposed meets the zoning requirement for number of parking spaces.
That's correct. And I just wanted to clarify that the zoning does in detached units does allow for a second suite. And it's in terms of the number of bedrooms, that does not play a role in the zoning requirement for parking.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you heard, Marcia, we got information from staff on the zoning requirements. So I hope we're clear on that.
Through
I
you.
heard that, yes.
Go ahead, Marcia.
I don't agree with it, but I heard it.
Okay, thank you. Member M has a comment.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, secondary suites are permitted within these detached dwellings. However, it's how that suite is accessed that's before us today. So Marcia, we cannot debate what is already allowed, but we can talk about the variances before us, which is how that suite is accessed. So while I understand you're not overly pleased with the fact that this secondary suite will be there, we do have, what's before us today is how it is accessed. And it was originally proposed to be elsewhere, and through negotiations with community planning wanted to reduce the impact on the overall streetscape and had them relocate that access within that carport to try to make it appear as if it's not there to the best that they could through a design manner.
I understand that, and I looked at it when you flashed it on the screen. And how do they get that? Through the carport?
Yeah.
Yes, they have to walk past the car, and therefore, like, there's with the car parked there, they're thinking that, it won't be as obvious from the streetscape that there is that secondary suite there.
And the lady next door on the east side at 149 is 91 years old. And she couldn't reply any other way except through somebody like me.
No, I completely appreciate her concerns. I am not supportive personally or professionally of the side yard setback that's being proposed for this second story addition. In my opinion, I think that that's definitely an encroachment onto the livability of 149. But that's
Okay.
just my opinion.
Okay, all right, thank you.
She will be without sunlight in her windows.
Okay, Marcia, I would appreciate if you can wrap up your concerns because we are. Mhm.
All right. It's all right. We don't care if he wants to put a second story on his house. We just would like him to put it within the bounds of the community. And I think he's trying to destroy the community.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have your written comments, and we heard you, and I appreciate the time you've taken to provide that additional information to us. We really appreciate that. We will now move to the other party that's listed on our list here, Ihor from Councillor's Office. Ihor, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah. Good morning. Councillor Thompson has submitted a letter with concerns that he has, which are similar to the concerns that the community has. Now, with regards to parking and the zoning bylaw, we understand the zoning bylaw. Earlier this week, the driveway was full. There was a car parked on the grass on the front yard and a motorcycle parked there. This morning, there were cars in the driveway, on the grass, and the motorcycle was still there. So if we think there's no parking problem, that's what's happening now. I can only imagine what would be happening once the proposed renovation takes place. The east side, the addition that's going on is too close to the property immediately to the east, 149. I took time and drove through the neighborhood, looked at new builds, second stories. I looked at second story additions, and I looked at dormers. Not one location within that whole subdivision has exceeded the footprint of the building. Everything, all second floors, dormers, and new builds were all contained within the original footprint of the building. This would set a serious precedent to this neighborhood and other neighborhoods throughout Scarborough.
Okay.
With regards to the secondary entrance, as well, when I looked at whether there were additions outside of the original footprint, I also looked at secondary entrances. Not one home that has been renovated for a second-story dormer or new build has a second entrance on the front wall. Okay. So we would appreciate if the committee would take the impacts that this addition would have on the immediate neighbor and on the community, and the precedents that it would be setting for other homes within the neighborhood and neighbors that live next door to places that would be renovated, and specifically this one. So thank you very much for your time, Madam Chair and committee.
Okay, thank you, Ihor, for your time. Appreciate your comments, and committee members have certainly heard both yourself as well as Marcia. I would say with respect to the parking issue that you mentioned, cars parked on the grass and on the street and all that, I think it's I would recommend that either yourself or the neighbors contact the municipal bylaw enforcement to bring it to their attention and see if there's any opportunity to rectify or address that concern. Unfortunately, we at a committee level are unable to do anything about it, but I certainly see a problem. And with all this infill development happening and additional buildings happening, there's definitely the parking issue remains for sure. But unfortunately, that's beyond the jurisdiction of our committee here. So committee members, any questions or comments before I go back to Mr. Leo to rebut?
I just have something for Mr. Leo.
Okay. But before I go to Leo, just make sure we have nothing for Ihor or Marcia. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Leo, over to you now. So you heard the comments and concerns raised by Marcia as well as Ihor and the impact of this development on the community and in particular the next door neighbor. How would you respond?
Well, the only reason we brought the setback is to accommodate the parking and then the supports for that carport, and that's why we kept in line with the setback, because we needed to try to comply with the parking width as much as possible without jeopardizing the design. The front, the secondary suite door is in the rear behind the carport, so the impact, it would be like a single family dwelling having another door to like a mudroom or similar designs that we've done in the past for single-family dwellings. So, and also in addition, the space between our existing our house and there's a setback of 2.43 meters from on the neighbor's property. So there's almost 3 meters between the houses once it's constructed.
Through you, Madam Chair, you can't count on somebody else's property. You are both required to provide a setback on the side lot. So, you know, while they are gracious enough to maintain their bylaw requirement, doesn't mean that you should, you know, impact their property by reducing yours to 0.5. I mean, I'm looking at drawing A3, and you have ample room within your floor plan to reduce both the bedroom size, the walk-in closet, the new bathroom, heck, even the hallway, by just very little, that it's going to actually create a much better condition and interface with your neighbor. I understand that you were trying to maintain a certain size for the carport, and the carport is not going to be enclosed, it's posts. And, you know, in my eyes, the posts are not really the same as a main wall. So why can't you pull back the actual wall of the addition to comply with that 1.2 side yard setback? I mean, it's really, I'm looking at your A3 drawing, and there's no reason in my eyes why you can't adjust that floor plate in order to improve the condition to 149.
Did you hear?
Yes, hello?
Yes.
So we actually tried, but if you notice that the stair between the door, entrance door, and the stairs, there's not much room to accommodate that stairwell to get up there. So if we reduce it by 2 feet, then our landing would be in the door. If you understand what I'm talking about. So there's not, so right now we have 4'6" between the stair and the wall. If we reduce the side yard setback or comply with the side yard setback, then we would only have 2'6", which is not enough room to get into the other door.
Could you reorient the face of that door to be on the other wall?
Madam Chair?
Just let him answer first.
Like, is that a standard stairwell? Like, because it appears 3 feet, 0.6 inches seems to be, you know, a little bit of a generous stairwell, if you ask me. I do feel that there are methods to your design that could better accommodate having the 1.2 side yard setback.
But isn't 3 feet 6 inches a requirement of the code?
No, the code is 3 feet.
Yeah, so right there.
6 inches.
But the problem is that if you have furniture and you're going up a stair like this, it's difficult with 3 feet to get furniture up there. So 3'6" is not, that's pretty well what the industry standards are, even though the building code says we need a minimum of 3 feet.
So once again, could you not reorient the entrance to be on the other wall to prevent having to make that turn onto the landing? To be underneath the other stairs that move to the unit up above?
Madam Chair, I have an issue with that entrance as well that I'd like to ask him.
That's what we're trying to get, Member Macaulay. Just let him finish this thought and then we'll come to you. Go ahead.
The door going into Unit 1 is an existing door that we just tried to maintain. And there's an existing stairs going up and down, which again, we tried to maintain. And that's the reason why that door is there.
No, I'm not saying I'm saying could that door not be the door for both entrances?
No, I cannot.
No.
There's a great difference there. Member Macaulay.
I have a lot of problems with your entranceway to unit number 2. That's the door that my friend is trying to talk about here. And as I see it, that is the door and the only entrance to the second-story unit is through the carport, through that door, and up the stairs to the second floor. That creates more of a concern as I see it with the carport. The carport we've already talked about is not wide enough normally, and you've asked for a reduction in that carport. But now that carport is being also impacted by a door to a unit who may not have the car or the use of that carport. So we've got to remember, we've got two families living in this house, one car in one carport that's very small, and the access from that carport is the only access to the second unit. I basically think that you need to go back to the drawing board and take another look at this whole setup. It's, I would have trying to do too much here.
I would have to agree. You're really pushing the envelope here, trying to squeeze in something that just may not work. It doesn't work from a parking situation. It doesn't work from an intrusion to your neighbor's use of their lot. It just, you need to go back to the drawing board. And unless you can tell us today that, there's ways of reorienting this entrance, I'm not prepared to support this application, and I don't think my colleague is as well.
Leo?
So it's either, you could move forward and once again table this and go back, or, we may be put into the position to have to refuse this application.
Okay, so Leo, you heard the concerns of the committee. Would you like to say anything to it? What would be your position at this time?
There's two things I'd like to say. The first thing I'd like to say is that community planning had no concerns with this setup. This is the first thing. The second thing is yes, I would like, if you're going to recommend refusal, then I would recommend that we defer the application and try to figure out a solution that will satisfy you. But community planning did not have any concerns whatsoever regarding this setup.
I appreciate that, but we also are registered planners as well, and we do have professional opinions of our own, both me and my colleague here, Ms. McCauley. So while we respect community planning, we're also able to have our own thought process on this.
And then I think, Leo, you have to understand our mandate is community planning provides a recommendation and their opinion. Our job here is to review these applications and make a decision based on what our mandate is. So I'm going to leave it at that. I would suggest, so at this point, we need to hear from you whether you heard it loud and clear that the committee is prepared to make a decision today, unless you want to go back and do some design changes.
Through the chair, excuse me, through the chair, if a decision is made to defer it, the committee should provide very clear reasons.
Absolutely,
I'm
able to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So Leo, do you have an appetite?
Yes, I think we should defer this application and maybe try to comply with the side yard setback. Maybe try to figure out a way that will accommodate and address the concerns.
Okay, thank you very much.
And try to maybe give it a little bit more room on the side yard to try to comply a little bit better, and maybe try to figure out a better solution to their concerns. So
Okay.
I do recommend we defer this and go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to satisfy all parties.
Okay, and while you are going back to the drawing board, we also recommend that you look at the extension of the parking in the front yard and see if your design revision can also solve or at least address that problem as well. Okay. Members of the committee, Mr. Leo is prepared to go back and revisit the design. We have a motion on this application.
Yes, I'm prepared to put a motion to defer the application due to the fact that there is substantial concerns from both the residents, committee themselves, as well as the councillor with regards to whether this application is in fact minor in nature, appropriate development for the lot. And and maintains the intent and purpose of both the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay, have a seconder, please.
I will second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. Your application has been deferred.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving to item number 7 that was held. Item number 7 is 10 GLEN Everest Road. An application to construct a new one-story garage and storage shed on the property. We have before us one variance. The agent was Rob. Rob, are you online with us?
I am. I'm here present.
Thank you. I'll just double check again for all the people who had registered. Anna was the owner. Is she with us?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Susan Spiegel, the architect, is not. Okay. Kelly Graham from Toronto Housing Corp.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. JD Moore.
Through the chair, this person is still not logged in today.
Okay, thank you. And we had Ben and Justine together, I believe.
Yes, we're still here.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, would you like to have a presentation on this or have a question for the agent, Rob?
No, I have no questions, but I do want to speak a little bit for some clarification.
Okay. Would you like to have a presentation or do you want to dive right into the question?
I don't need a presentation. I don't know if my colleagues do.
Okay. Please go ahead, Member M, with your question.
So I did read the letter that was submitted by JD Moore, and Ben and Justine, I'm not sure if your concerns are similar to those concerns, but I did want to state that the setbacks and the standards that are applicable to this property are very generous because it is an apartment complex and requires a lot more spacing than you would have with just a regular residential zone. So while there is a new structure that is a one-story sort of smaller garage shed being constructed that is within a 2.7 meter distance from the lot line as opposed to 12 meter. 12 meter is really meant for like large additions to a main building, not necessarily accessory structures such as a shed or a garage. And while I understand that this is a change from current condition, personally, a 2.7 and a 2.47 side yard setback it is an ample setback for this type of structure, in my professional opinion.
Rob, did you hear? Do you want to respond?
I did. I mean, I kind of agree with those comments. So I don't have. The other thing I would just say is that the shed is angled to the properties in question on the east side. So it is the 2.79 at the shortest. You know, that's the closest, but it's not a, it's not a wall going parallel to the fence. So, the set, but that is at one point only. The other, if I can I address another comment or another point at this right now?
Please go ahead.
The client did reach out to the two parties that sent letters, and there was a little bit of. I just wanted to clarify what the use of the shed was. There was some concern about it becoming kind of like an amenity space for the tenants, or what kind of use it is. And I just wanted to clarify that it is an unheated storage shed to be used by site staff during business hours only. There's no, we're not running plumbing, we're not running any heating to it. It's to store tractor and road salt essentially, and it will not become any kind of like community space for the tenants. That is within the building itself.
Okay. Are there any plantings proposed around that shed or the garage?
As of yet, no. There currently is construction going on right now. So when the survey was done, the whole that specific area was not properly surveyed for trees. So we do need to have an arborist report and comply with urban forestry. But having visited the site, it does not seem like any trees are in the way, but that is not confirmed 100%.
Through you,
As I've indicated earlier, we will comply with, we will have an arborist and we will comply with urban forestry.
through you, Madam Chair, there's significant tree vegetation that already exists on those property limits. If you are looking
For that
at the
particular
area.
one?
For that particular location. So long as the shed is not going to be resulting in the removal of any of those trees, I would already state that it's quite vegetated and screened to date.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other question for Rob? Okay, thank you, Rob. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Rob, before we move to the other parties?
No, I think most of my other points have been said in the letter and I clarified the use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are now going to move to the owner. I'm not sure. Would you like to speak to this application?
Sure, I'll just add that the site in question does not have any sort of underground parking space or additional storage space, and so the ground floor is quite congested with community space and the mechanical room, and so the decision was sort of presented to see if there were ancillary spaces elsewhere on the site to accommodate the tractor and the equipment, rather than sort of further reducing amenity area and perhaps needing a variance for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thanks, Anna. I don't think, is Susan with us, the architect? No. Okay, thank you. We also had Kelly Graham from Toronto Housing.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, just a correction. I'm with SCN Architects and Planners, and so I've been retained as a planner to advise on this file, and I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ben and Justine, you're together, and the floor is yours. Please go ahead with your concerns that you have with this application.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to say thank you for the clarification on the intended use. The location of the garage does make sense, and the setback I think we're okay with. Our concern comes from the surrounding vegetation and trees in that area. There are very large, beautiful trees in that part of the property. So to hear the constructor, I believe it was the constructor, say that they would be abiding by or they would be bringing an arborist to review that is very appreciated. We wouldn't want to, I guess one of our concerns is that this building would result in trees being taken down, and we really would not like that. Our other concern is surrounding the activities going on in this space. So we appreciate that there's no heating being run or plumbing. There's no plumbing being run to this facility, so that will limit the activities. But that there is going to be a tractor is a little less desirable, and just because of the landscape, the properties, our property in particular, is set lower than this. So the existing fence that is there, I believe, is no more than 6 feet, and we're often we often see what's going on in that space. With the construction going on right now, it's quite disruptive, and I can imagine with this type of outhouse and the activities that would be going on there, a tractor coming in and out of that space, it would be a little disruptive to myself and the other neighbors. So, that's kind of our primary concern. I was just wondering if there was a way that could be addressed.
Okay, thank you for your concerns, Ben and Justine. Just want to say that the activities that could occur there, that's not something that we can speak to. We're here to look at the location of the building that's being proposed and the setbacks, and then you did raise some concerns with the proximity of this building, and of course, the associated activities, well, how that impacts. We will certainly ask for that clarification from the agent or the speakers representing this application. If there's nothing else to say, do you want to add anything before we proceed, or?
Yeah, I just would like to say that the location does,
Okay.
and I know this might not be the purview of this committee to speak to the activities, but the activities are kind of going to be surrounding this facility and this building.
Okay.
So the location of this building does impact us with reference to the activities that are going to be occurring.
Okay. Okay, we will get some clarification on that and see what the response comes back. Okay, members of committee, any questions?
Sorry, excuse me, through the chair. JD Moore has logged on now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Member Macaulay has a question.
I have a question back for the applicant.
So we'll go back. Right now, we're just dealing with the residents.
Yep.
Okay? Not yet. Not yet. We have another speaker. Okay. So we have JD Moore. JD, are you with us?
Yeah, hello, can you hear us?
There's two people speaking. Who am I speaking to?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you for sure. And who's that?
Okay. We've had quite a bit of time trying to reach you. We've been on since 10, but this is the first time that's actually been logged on. So I'd just like to reiterate my concerns that I mentioned in my letter. The building will be very close to my backyard property line and will be in view constantly when I'm in my backyard. It will obstruct my light. The evening sun comes through that area and allows me to grow plants there. They will be diminished. My enjoyment of my backyard will be diminished by this structure. If you look at the zoning call, it says 12 meters for this kind of structure, and you want to do it under 3 meters. Now, guys, that's really close. If you look at the picture they sent that is now up on the screen, well, my picture is different than yours. There is a space between the structure and the first driveway parking property. If you were to move the building towards the parking by as much as 4 or 5 meters, you would alleviate any issue we have with the corner coming close to my property. Now, I understand from talks with Anna that from the housing thing that they have parking problems. You telling me that you can't find parking for one space somewhere else on that property to then use this space for the shed? I think that is something that they should relook at, see that if they can redesign something so that they keep their parking and I get the shed farther away from my property. The usage of the building, they say, is for a tractor and some storage for salt and whatever. It seems to me to be a pretty large building for a tractor and some kids and salt. Hey, it looks like an awful big building for a tractor and kids and salt, like twice the size that's needed. That's the usage they're going to use now, but with the history of this project, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. With the history of this property of saying one thing, i.e. it was originally building designed and put forward to the community as a seniors building.
Mm-hmm.
It is now untenable housing and all the associated problems therein. How do we know that the shed use is going to continue as a tractor and salt storage thing, or is it going to be given over to tenants use when they find they have some other more convenient thing for them.
Okay, so Mr. Moore, I think you've captured a lot of your comments that you've spoken, that you've already written in your written submission. So I appreciate that. You have certainly raised 2 points here: the location of the structure and the use of the structure. As far as we're concerned, the application is for a garage and storage shed, and as we heard from the applicant and the owner, that there will be no servicing connections to the building, and it would be solely used for the purposes of storage of materials and equipment. But we will certainly get more confirmation and clarification from the owner as well as the agent on that. We can certainly talk about the location, and we will give a chance to the agent to rebut. But we have a comment at this point from a member. Please.
Mr. Moore, I'm not sure if you were able to hear my previous comments, but I would like to again restate that the 12 meters setback is typically meant for the main building, being the actual rental tower itself. It's not meant to be, in my opinion, applied to an accessory structure such as this, which is a storage shed. And I understand your concerns about its possible reuse in the future, but none of us have a crystal ball, and unfortunately, we have to make a decision based on the information provided to us today. And today, that this building is not going to be serviced, so without services, there's no way it could be occupied, and it's meant to house equipment that has nowhere else to go. And that's my understanding based on this application. And once again, I appreciate it's a large change from what is there today in your condition today. However, a 2.79 meter setback is a pretty good setback to an accessory structure that is 1 story in height. These setbacks need to increase as height is increased. So if they were building something that was 3 or 4 stories, I may have a different response, similar to the application that had before this application. You know, that was a 0.5 meter setback to the lot line. So I just wanted to say, because this is an apartment lot, their requirements are very generous. If you were up against a regular residential lot, they would be able to build this storage shed much closer than the 2.7 you have before you today. If this was a regular residential lot, they could build that shed up to 1 meter away from your property line. So I just want to put that perspective for you in terms of the condition and how it relates to the zoning bylaw.
Okay, Member Macaulay, you have something to say?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. The committee is asked to look at this property in terms of the building setback. But one of the things that we can also look at is what is the proposed building, because we have in front of us the building elevations. We believe that the proposed intent of this is storage. That is the only intent. I've looked at the building elevation. The building elevation is concrete block, which is not all that wonderful, but it is essentially a storage facility with a large garage door. I'm wondering whether I'd like to hear from the applicant, and I'm wondering whether from the residents, whether they would get some comfort if we tied this approval to the one building elevation that was submitted. That's the front elevation A401 that shows the garage door, a door into it, and 2 windows with a flat roof. Really, to my mind, it looks totally like storage. All of that access to that building is from the parking lot. None of it is from the adjacent property lines. You would not be able to see it from those property lines.
Okay, so I think this is more a question for the applicant. So
yes.
I want to kind of, in the interest of time here, I'm trying to streamline this better. Let's move on to the applicant. But before we go, Mr. Moore, other than what we've heard today and written from you, I hope we can move forward at this point.
Am I speaking now to you?
Yes, you are. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I understand that the building is one story, flat roof building, and you believe it's not going to be interfering on my view from my property, but I strongly disagree. It will interfere with my view.
Okay.
It will be taking away some small trees that are at that location right now, which is what I look at, and you'll be replacing them with concrete block wall.
Okay.
No, thank you. From my point of view, I still maintain and believe strongly that if you were to look at your property in a total, you could find somewhere else to move that one parking space and move that shed into that parking space, and everybody will.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. I think we've heard these comments and concerns a few times now, and I don't think we need to repeat those. So let's go to the applicant, the agent now, Rob. You heard the concerns from the committee. You heard the concerns from the residents with respect to the location of the building, the use of the building. Could you please provide a response to those concerns?
Madam Chairman, can I ask for two clarifications from the applicant?
Can we just wait, please? Please go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, because I think Mr. Moore came in after I'd explained that this is unheated and there's no plumbing. So it definitely will not be any kind of amenity space by the tenants. I just wanted to reiterate that point for him. Mr. Quinn also asked about the use and was concerned about the use. I just wanted to clarify that the tractor is primarily used to move the garbage bins around on garbage days. And the salt is basically to salt the parking lot. There will be some other storage there, but I don't think it's an excessive amount of use by the site staff. Like, I don't think it's going to be continuous 24/7. It's definitely, a couple of times a day. I don't think it's a heavy use. I would also like to point out that the elevations do appear like it's a concrete masonry unit, but our intent and the client's intent is to use concrete architectural block, which is not just rough block. It is a dressed face, so it's a premium look to it. So it's not just a gray concrete block. And then the other thing I'd like to say is that parking is an issue. It's all surface parking on this lot, and to comply, like TCHC has a mandate to provide accessibility needs for its residents, and what typically, parking space is always at a premium, and it's usually difficult to, it always becomes a problem to provide adequate AODA parking spots with proper Wheel-Trans drop-offs. So I'd just like to clarify for Mr. Moore that it is not easy to find other parking spots on the site. And I would also like to just say that we did consider various other sites. I don't think he was privy to the letter where I explained that to the committee, but we did look at other sites.
Okay, and you have, you and your team and TCH has exhausted all other locations on the property, and this seems to be the only available spot for this facility, correct?
We in fact did a previous PPR application to put it someplace else, and it turns out there's a city easement for a stormwater drain running through the property that we didn't know about. One other point that I just missed that I wanted to say was in terms of Mr. Quinn, the big trees that are at the corner of his lot are pretty much out of the way. They're shown on the site plan on A201, and I'm not an arborist, but I do not believe the large trees are going to be affected. The proposed shed seems to be, from a layperson's point of view, well outside the tree canopy. But as I said earlier, we will be engaging the services of an arborist and will be complying fully with urban forestry.
Okay, just want to clarify, there will be some tree removals, and I heard you that you will be speaking or engaging an arborist and speak with urban forestry. I see a little area, especially on this plan A201. Is there an opportunity, and we heard some comments about, views to this and how, in their opinion, this may not be the most aesthetically pleasing building. Is there an opportunity to add some additional trees at the back, or there is a row of trees there? I can't tell by looking at this plan here.
The plan was not adequately surveyed because it is actually a staging area currently. So when the survey was done, they didn't properly survey all the trees. I can't speak with full accuracy, but it seems like the trees that are on the site are all within like 300 mil diameter. They're smaller trees.
Okay.
So we would be, if we removed any smaller trees, like I said, we would comply with forestry. So
Okay.
anything larger, we would be, as per requirements, replacing.
And there will be adequate planting buffer available along the street, along the property line, correct?
I don't understand
So
what you're asking.
what I'm trying to say is that that corner, if you look at Plan 201, that corner right now seems to be deficient in any planting there. So I hear you that the inventory of the trees on the property was not completely surveyed, but all I'm trying to get to is will there be any plantings along the property line to create some sort of a buffer there?
Well, the current situation I would describe as sort of like it's wild. So it's not like significant, like it's not mature trees in that area.
Okay.
There's a lot of growth that would have to be cleared away to build the shed. And then we, I expect that growth would return because that whole area is generally overgrown with shrubs and vines and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any mature trees right in that spot at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Macaulay has a question.
Yes, I have a question. First of all, I want to know whether your design is sufficiently finalized that if we say you have to build in accordance with drawing A401, that is achievable from your perspective. And secondly, I note that you have to provide a report to the urban forestry. There is a condition of urban forestry, so I would expect that you would be looking at trees in that corner only, not on the entire property, obviously, and address what is there. So those are my two issues. I'd like to tie this to your proposed building elevation and to the urban forestry request for a permit.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Any further questions for Rob?
I'd like to hear, is he okay with that?
Are you okay with this, Rob, tying your, let's say, should the committee approve this application, is there any issue with tying it to the plans?
For sure, urban forestry will be involved and we will engage an arborist. We don't have an issue with that. But I did not quite fully understand the concern with the front elevation A500.
Okay, so I'm going to put it clearly. Should the committee move forward with approving this application, the committee would like to know if, let's say if the committee approves this application and ties it with the elevations that are provided to us, is there an issue? Do you anticipate any more changes to the drawings, or are these drawings final?
As a condition.
As a condition?
No, these are pretty close to tender drawings. We don't anticipate making any changes.
Okay, thank you. That's all we needed. Okay, I think we've had a good deliberation on this one. We need to move forward now. Members of the committee, I need a mover and a seconder.
Madam Chairman, I will move approval of this application, subject to two conditions. The first one being the condition of urban forestry and their request, and the second one, that the building be built as substantially in accordance with the building elevation shown as A401 on our drawing here.
Seconder, please.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried, Rob. Your application has been approved, subject to the conditions as stated.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, the next item that was held was item number 13. Item number 13 is 10 EMMOTT Avenue. For 10 EMMOTT Avenue, we have Christian Chan, the agent.
Yes. Oh, I'm here.
We're getting a feedback from you. Are you signed in from one device or multiple devices here?
Can you hear me okay?
There's some echo there. It seems like you're signed in with two. So our staff has confirmed there are two devices that you're signed in from. Could you please log off from one?
Madam Chair, can you hear me clearly?
Much better. Thank you very much, Christian.
Okay, great. Yes, I
Okay.
apologize for earlier. I tried a hybrid option because my microphone was previously non-functioning. So
Okay.
I'm glad we figured this out.
I'm glad you figured it out because it was really funny listening to that previously.
I couldn't hear what it sounded like, but I saw everybody being amused and
Yes, it was a bit tricky for us to keep our laughter. It was funny. Anyways, I'm glad it's working for you now. And we also have Louise Gilmore, the interested party on this application. Louise, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Thank you very much, Louise. This application before us is on 10 Amet Avenue, and it is to construct a new two-story detached dwelling with a second suite in the basement, and we have before us eight variances. We have a staff report from community planning as well as on record some letters of opposition. We also received a cover letter with the supporting photos. So members of the committee, would you like to hear a presentation from Christian, or do you have any questions for Christian?
My main question is the eaves. I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done to accommodate a better eaves scenario. I understand it's a very tight lot at 7.62 meters of frontage, but I just wanted to pose that question.
Okay, and that's related to variance number 6?
Correct.
Okay, so Christian, member M would like, has a comment on variance number 6 related to the eaves. Do you have anything to say to that? Why is that a
Yes,
situation? Please.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chair, and the member. Yes, it's an existing condition, and in my estimation, the existing condition is even worse than what is being proposed. The eaves, as we all know, simply need to go on the roof for proper drainage. This is a typical condition on the lots with these 25-foot frontages. So this is an existing condition on the site and generally in the neighborhood as well. In fact, this is also a condition that is experienced on number 8's property, where their setback from their side main wall to the north side lot line is approximately 18 centimeters, and their eaves would also be non-complying with the provisions of the bylaw.
Yeah, I see that it's an existing condition on the one side, but on the other side, there is an opportunity to comply. It's not a great scenario, but you're right. There is a lot of, it's a squishy subdivision. I don't love when other people's drainage flows onto properties beyond their own, but I was just posing to see if there was anything that could be done to at least improve it. I mean, we're talking here, you're talking only like 2 inches.
Yes, and I understand that, member. Yes, and I'm just looking at the site plan. If we can turn to that, please, committee staff.
The site plan?
Site plan AS.
Yeah, so we're trying to get it. There's a little bit of a glitch here, technology glitch.
I have it in front of me on my own personal computer, if you wanted to address a certain aspect of it.
There we go.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
up there.
So if we were to contemplate a repositioning of the building to the north, and we would require another setback variance, because then we would be going into the 90 centimeters that's required for the north side. So if we were to adjust the building in any way, then we would be triggering another variance, and we would have to resubmit and go through another public process. So having the existing side main wall built on the, or the proposed side main wall built on the existing side main wall is simply to maintain the existing condition with respect to the eaves. Now, we will make every possible effort in order to accommodate any building issues that may appear throughout the building's review process in order to mitigate any hypothetical concerns with the flow of water from that particular slope of the roof.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Any further comments or questions for Christian? Christian, would you like to say anything before we proceed to the neighbor?
Yes, if you may allow me an indulgence just to ask the committee members whether they have reviewed my planning rationale I've submitted in support or as a supportive document for the application in the appendix with the pictures.
Members of the committee? Yes, we did receive that, and it was in our agenda package. We have had reviewed your planning justification.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm just going to go through a quick few points, if I may. Just that we have had discussions with committee staff, with the city planning staff on this, and the initial application was proposed for a dual entrance at the front, which was their only concern. And so we have revised the plans as is included in my submission, as well as uploaded on August 6th to committee staff, of which the variances that we are currently seeking are reflective of. So in response to staff's comments, we've reconfigured the entrance of the secondary suite that is going to the basement in order to provide that entrance into the rear north side of the building. None of the variances were altered with this change, so we worked within the confines of what we had requested in order not to initiate another public process with additional variances.
Okay.
So just as a point of information, I visited the site in the media and broader context, and as you may know from your site visits, that the neighborhood is very compact. This is an undersized lot. Therefore, in my opinion, this is the reason why a lot of these variances have been triggered, specifically with regards to the setbacks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Just as another note, Madam Chair, I have reviewed the neighbors' letter, and I thank them for their submissions. And I do sincerely apologize that my client, or even me, when I went on site last week, that we did not contact them. Of course, in the time of COVID, it's difficult to get into face-to-face, but we certainly could have made better efforts to discuss any issues that they may have had prior to this hearing, especially in regards to me reviewing and the letter that was submitted this morning, and be able to formulate a response to that, which I'm happy to answer questions of.
Okay, thank you. And you've read the staff report, and you have read the condition that has been recommended by community planning?
Yes, Madam Chair, my client is in full acceptance of the condition for the permeable pavers to the front driveway, as well as that we have received an urban forestry report from staff recommending condition 3 be imposed, which is respect to the fee that shall be paid by my client for the street tree.
Okay.
And as another offer in regards to the letter that was submitted by the owner of number 8, it's that for the upper rear second-story deck, is that my client is prepared to build an opaque privacy screen of 1.5 meters in order to address her concerns of privacy, should the committee decide to impose that condition as part of any approval.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure it's not 1.5, it's 1.8 meter high, the privacy fence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would recommend 1.5, but as the committee shall decide.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christian. Let's move to Louise Gilmore. Louise, you're with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, thank you. So Louise, we have received your written submission, and thank you very much. It is very comprehensive. I would encourage you to to speak to comments in addition to those comments. As I said, we've read your submission. We understand your concerns. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I'll just make the comment that I appreciate that my neighbor is willing to go forward with some sort of privacy screen, the opaque screen, to deal with concern. I do think this could have gotten so much better if there had been a conversation, and things could have been worked out. I do continue to have very serious concerns about the proposed layout, having the living room space directly adjacent to my bedroom, and the closeness of the building, and the issue with the eaves and the water encroachment that might arise from there.
Okay, so the internal layout or space planning is not something that we can help you with, but we can certainly speak to the eaves. We can certainly speak to the setback, which I'm not sure which one that would affect your separation distance requirements. we're certainly happy to talk to you about the variances. So again, I'm going to repeat, we cannot help you out with the internal layout of the proposed building.
However, Madam Chair, I don't believe there's windows on those sides of the building, so that should help the condition. I mean, if their living room spaces.
There are two window wells to the benefit of the proposed basement suite.
For the basement suites, the window wells.
Right. And I'm looking at the basement elevation, and I do feel that it would be quite high up for them. I don't think it would be at eye level. So I don't believe that they would have a direct sight line into your bedroom from their location.
It's not a sight line issue. It's a noise issue. I've had many problems over the years with this property producing excess noise.
Oh,
In
okay.
part, I feel that it's due to the reduced setback. So that current 0.4 instead of the 0.9. I appreciate the difficulty because of the small lot, but like when the buildings are that close together, you get the eaves issue, which yes, absolutely is an existing condition. And my position was that it shouldn't be recreated in a rebuild. That was the water issue. The noise issue was just the fact of the layout and the setback not being complete. It's going to potentially like raise noise issues. And then finally with the window wells down in between the two buildings, and a building that's proposed to be like 2.5 stories, it's impactful of potentially like my future build plans if I also build up to 2 stories and that reduces the light to that secondary suite through those window wells. I don't know if conflict is going to arise there.
Okay, so that's something that we can't speak to, and that's in the current situation that we have. With respect to the location of the windows and its relationship with the setback, we can certainly ask Christian to respond to that. So I'm assuming that there are no other concerns then, other than the ones that you've just notified?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Appreciate your time. Member M, a question?
So, Christian,
I was going to Christian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a question for Christian.
I am going to Christian.
Okay.
So I thought you had something for Louise.
No,
Okay.
it was just to speak further on my question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to close the loop because I don't want to keep an open window. Just want to make sure we're done with Louise. We will now go to Christian. Christian, you heard Louise, the resident, with some concerns. Before we proceed, Member M has a comment for you. Question.
So, Christian, we explored possibly moving the building, and we appreciated why we couldn't do that because it would result in an additional variance. Is there a possibility to shave off some of the interior space to improve the side yard setback to Louise's house as an alternate way of improving that interface?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to run through the side yard setbacks because this seems to be a focus area here. So just, if you can follow me and thank the owner of number 8 in her submissions. So if I could just instruct staff to go to the site plan of August 6th, and if we can zoom in on the side yard setback there. So we have a 0.41 side yard setback that's existing. Now that side yard does increase as you go. Actually, no, it doesn't show that. So we're going for 0.41 meter setback. So we're talking about a lot that has a frontage of 25 feet. This is a frontage of a lot that would normally have a semi-detached home, which would have an under normal circumstances permitted 0 meter setback in the RS zone. So if I can instruct staff to go to the floor plans, page 5, drawing A3, please. So here we have the main floor situation. Now I understand that there's also an issue that the neighbor has with regards to the setback of the front porch. Now that one would require another 53 centimeters, I believe, of a reduction to comply with the width of that 2.43 meters that you see in the lower right corner of the porch. That was another concern that also is related to the setback. So one of one of the offers is that we simply comply for the front porch and then we reconfigure the entrance door. So if I can instruct staff to go to page 7, drawing A5, please. So here on the second floor, we have the bedroom that is closest to the side lot line that is at issue. It's about 9 feet wide. So any less wide, and of course, I'm not speaking to any of the building issues here because that's for other experts and not the purview of the committee, but if any of those bedrooms were to be shrunk, we could find space, but I would submit that these bedrooms, if we were to increase the side yard setback, would not be sufficient to permit a adequately sized bedroom. If you can see the layout with the beds, and we would have to shrink the washrooms as well. And I'm pretty sure by Ontario Building Code that the width of those hallways have to be as such in order to comply with the OBC. So under normal circumstances, in a neighborhood with very compact lots, you know, if we're talking about a context where we have 25-foot frontages, the normal standard for a side yard setback for a building without openings is 0.45 meters. So we would be 0.4 centimeters deficient to that respect. And I understand that RS zone in this particular instance in the exception provides a 0.9 setback, but when I was doing my planning analysis on most of the streets in the geographic neighborhood here, we have 0 or very close to 0 medium side yard setbacks with a building pattern of pairs where you have on one side, either the north or south side of a building, a driveway, a shared easement, and then 2 buildings that are very close together on a lot line. And in fact, it's reflective of the RS zoning for the neighborhood. So the reduced side yard setbacks in the existing and the new homes in the immediate broader context are in fact small on one side. You know, the side yard setback again of number 8 is almost 0 meters. It's about 18, I think, according to the survey. But they would also have to comply. So in my opinion, there would be no additional impact of what would and could be provided for a semi-detached home if it were to be proposed on these 2 lots and built. So for an example, if you can turn to page 22 of my submission of my planning document, you can see some pictures
Okay.
of number 3, number 1 Lucy, and we see the permitted side yard setbacks are in fact a normal condition to be reduced, even on lots that have an integral garage, which do not use the shared access for vehicular purposes.
Okay, all right. Is that sufficient, committee members? Any further questions?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I can address other issues that were raised in the letter of objection to reverse the debt, should you feel it's necessary.
Yes, I would like you to address the comment from Luis that was made as well. Quickly.
Yes, in terms of the deck, it's providing amenity from the bedrooms and it's not provided in a social nature. So the width of the deck is about 4 feet wide. So it's not an upper level deck that would accommodate a congregation of, let's say, maybe a lawn chair at the back. So obviously with regards to that, we've offered that conditions should the committee decide. And of course, as you know, many of the issues that were raised were regarding water, flooding, mold, and window well were matters that are before the building department. And noise, for example, these are issues dealt with by other authorities. And of course, my client will make all efforts in order to address any concerns in the neighbor to that regard. With regards to the concern of the number of persons living at the home, that is not an issue before the C of A as well as you've mentioned before, Madam Chair, the room configurations are not before the C of A. And in regards to the future plans of a hypothetical development on the lot at number 8, those plans are not before us, so we can't assess any of the impacts that would arise with regards to the current proposal at number 10 in regards to a future proposal at number 8.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Christian. That was very helpful. Members of the committee, any comments on this? If there are no comments, may I please have a motion on this application? And Christian, I think we talked about the conditions of urban forestry as well as Community Planning?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
Okay. All right, members of the committee.
I'm prepared to put forward a motion of approval, subject to the urban forestry conditions, as well as planning staff conditions for the permeable pavers, as well as the incorporation of a 1.8 meter high privacy screen on the second story deck. Yes, thank you.
Seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a seconder. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried.
Can you be specific in terms of where you'd like the, what side you'd like the screen? The privacy screen, just,
I would like it on both sides.
okay, it's just like the direction, north and south?
North and south, 1.8 opaque screening, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff. So just a minor revision to the condition that the privacy opaque screen be added on both sides of the deck, on the north and south sides? Okay. All right, and seconder, you don't have a problem with that one? Okay, and we're all in favor of this? All right. The application has been approved, subject to the conditions as specified. Thank you, Christian.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Okay. The next on the list is item 14, 44 Whitley Castle Crescent. Diane, the agent, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. This application is to construct a partial two-story front addition, partial two-story rear addition, and a second-story addition over the existing garage. And we have 5 variances. Nick, are you with us, and would you like to speak to this application?
Madam Chair, I think this application was held because of me, just FYI.
Okay, no, okay. All right, we'll get to Nick when we get to. So before we do, committee, any questions?
Yeah, it was, we had gotten in the vetting session into a discussion about the eaves once again, and how it's an existing condition to the garage. However, the second story addition, I was hoping that she would be able to modify the application in order to comply. And that I was hoping just to move forward based on that. And if Diane wants to respond to my request, that would be great.
So Diane?
Yes, we have to start from the front of the garage. So I have indicated between the existing garage, it is only about 3 inches between eaves. The only thing is that when we're setting back, we are only taking the exact 3 inch apart by setting back 3 feet 6 inches of the actual garage before we extrude going up the second story. So if you look at the drawing of the existing south elevation, which is on A104. And then going to the proposed elevation on A500. So the front of the garage remotely look similar, but we're setting it back 3 feet 6 before we go up onto the second story. So then the eaves troughs on the second story has a similar overhang, which we're not going further more than what is existing.
Right, and what I had requested.
A lot of separation.
So it's not a lot of separations, it's 3 inches, but what I had requested is that perhaps you could pull back the second story so it's not exasperating the existing condition, which is only the garage currently. Because currently your second story does not have that encroachment in the eaves, and you're basically asking us to approve a situation that is worse than the existing situation today.
But if we existing footprint of the garage is what it is. So between the neighbor, it's only 27 inches, right? So when we're pulling the second story right, aligning with the garage door, if we set back, it's gonna look really awkward to maintain that 9 inches or close to a foot that is by the new bylaw.
Can you go back to the existing, please?
Yeah.
So how does it look any different than that? You know, like you're already staggered as a difference.
Yeah, so existing.
So
has
all I'm
the garage.
asking is to just, I'm not saying don't widen your second story. I'm just saying widen it to comply. I'm asking for a matter of inches, which will actually improve the the condition of your surrounding neighbors. It's no different than your existing condition today, except for you still get additional space. I don't know if you've been listening in to all of the other previous discussion on eaves, but I'm feeling like I'm starting to sound like a broken record here.
Eve's girl.
Diane, are you prepared to make that modification?
Yes, if that is something that we cannot get approved without setting it back, then yes, we will do that.
No, I'm still asking you to set it back ever so slightly to comply on the second story. I'm not sure if you're completely understanding what I'm saying.
What would be the main? Okay,
So do you see
what
the
would
red
be the
line? Do you see the red line that staff has drawn? That is where I'm requesting you build your second story to, as opposed to being completely in line.
One at a time, please.
Sorry, maybe can I clarify one thing first? So what you see right behind where your red line is right now, the second story, that is something way back beyond the garage. That has nothing to do with our setback.
No, what you've said is that it's going to look funny because it's staggered, and my answer to you is that it's already staggered, that you've been living with the staggered condition for God knows how long. So I'm asking, could you please refine your proposal to comply on the second story while maintaining the eave condition on the garage, because I understand that that's an existing scenario. You're asking us to approve something that exasperates a poor condition when you have the ability to comply.
Okay, I will comply.
Thank you.
Does that affect your first variance?
Most likely.
Right now.
The first variance is related to the permitted floor area, so if you do shave off a little bit to comply with the eaves requirement, then that would be affected.
I think that I'm prepared to be supportive of variance 1 regardless of a change. So I'm okay with the 0.69 regardless of the change of the setback. So I don't think that there should be an impact there.
Okay, so variance number 1, we are not concerned about that one. 2 remains, 3 will be removed, 4 would be modified.
No, 3 would be modified because we would have to provide her relief for the eaves on the garage.
That's what I'm saying. We have to modify number 3 to say roof eaves may project to a maximum, the proposed roof eaves are located 0.08 meters from the east side lot line for the current.
For the existing garage, whereas the new addition, the new second story addition will comply.
All we have to do is say only.
With the 0.9. Or I can just say only.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the proposed roof eaves are located 0.08 meters from the east side lot line for the garage only.
Through the chair, can we take a quick look through the 2 floor plans here? So like if you, I guess the garage, as Member M has pointed out, is staggered, and the second floor is staggered as well. Really, so really, I think it appears like what the committee is thinking about is really recognizing that existing condition.
Yes.
And to do that, I guess one thing that the committee can do is you can tie it to plans, if that's what you're comfortable with.
No, but I think what Amy's trying to get to is that, or the remainder of the building, that relief for the eaves.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that really that.
Oh, tied to that, okay.
Yeah, you tie it to that, so they cannot close it off they can't extend that garage setback all the way down, right?
And that's my concern, yeah.
Yeah, so you can tie it to plans if you wish.
Okay, so what plan number is that?
You could tie it to the site. Can you show me the site plan, Brian? Yeah.
But would that necessitate any change to the wording of the variance?
I would still change the wording in the variance.
Yeah. So would that necessitate any change of wording to variance number 3? Because for now, the way this reads is that it allows for eaves to be located 0.08 meters all the way.
All the way
Exactly.
down.
So what you could do, the committee, if the committee wishes to proceed, is tie it to the site plan as it applies to the east. Yeah, because that's what the variance is for, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is, what plan is that? Yes.
Yeah, because then this drawing would be inaccurate.
Yes, that's we have to reword it for some.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
reword it,
Yeah, we have to come up with something here, otherwise it won't connect.
No, I agree.
Okay. So, Member M?
So that is my only concern with this application. I'm comfortable with the other ones. I'm curious as to my colleagues whether they have any further concerns.
And any further comment or concern on this one?
And through the chair, if there is a decision to do that, we can craft a condition accordingly to reflect that.
Okay. Okay, while we think, I will just double check with Nick. Nick, do you wanted to say anything? He's not there? Oh, okay. Go ahead. No? Okay, that's fair. Okay, so members of the committee, are we prepared for a motion and are we clear on what's being modified and the condition wording?
I'm not clear on the condition wording, but I'm clear on the variance wording.
Colin.
Is the committee comfortable with the proposed eaves, like the variance number 3, as it applies to the first story only?
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to state, yeah.
Okay.
So the proposed roof eaves are located 0.08 meters from the east side lot line for the first story only. Good?
Yep.
Maybe we should say first story of the garage, because we don't want them to.
Yeah.
So first story of the garage.
First story
So
garage.
just the garage.
Yeah.
As it applies to the garage
Okay.
only.
Diane, you're okay with this? So basically, based on the discussion, what has been concluded is to revise the variance number 3 to say the proposed roof eaves are located 0.08 meters from the east side lot line for the garage only.
Yes. So when I extrude it to the secondary, I have to set it back further to give me the clearance of what's required, correct?
Correct.
And we're just referring to the garage footprint that we're extruding to the second floor?
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, so.
There's some noise in the background.
Just mute her. So with that clarity, I'm prepared to put forward a motion of approval as amended. I would like to amend variance number 3 to read, roof eaves may project a maximum of 0.08 meters from the east lot line to the garage to the first story garage only. And then I believe there is also urban forestry conditions that I would like to tie to my motion.
Okay, and we didn't have anything from community planning. Okay, have a seconder, please.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a seconder to the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Your application has been approved as amended, subject to the condition of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not the least, we are going to move to item number 21, which is 21 Willow Lee Drive. 21 Willow Lee Drive is to construct a new detached garage in the rear yard, and we have two variances before us. Sorry, am I in the wrong one? I'm the wrong one. It's like, it's fine? Okay. It's not the last one. This is not the last one though. Okay, so I'm on the right one. So we have Eddie with us. Eddie?
Yeah, hi, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Eddie.
Members.
Thank you very much. I believe Member Macaulay had some questions for you. So we will dive right into the questions, if that's okay with you.
Yes, can staff show the site plan?
That's fine, thank you.
Mike, please.
Sorry, can staff show the site plan for this proposed, it's the garage. It's the lot plan. I'll have to find it myself here. It shows the driveway, it shows the garage, and it shows the existing house. That's it, yeah. Okay. And my question to the applicant is, you're proposing a two-unit, two-car garage in the rear yard.
Correct.
And the front yard, would you go back to the front yard, please? You're proposing to take away the driveway in the front yard and swing it to the, I guess it was to the east. But you have a garage on that front yard, the garage is on that side at the end of your existing driveway. What are you proposing to do with the existing garage?
Well, the existing garage is going to be closed. My client is intending to build a second floor in the future, so he wants to redo the whole layout.
Eddie, could you, sorry, Eddie, we can't hear you well. Could you please clearly speak in the microphone?
Well, my client is planning to close that garage because he's planning to build a second floor. He's going to reconfigure the whole house. So there won't be a garage in the front anymore. The garage will be only at the rear. He's going to use that garage in the future as living space.
So he's going to remove the garage in the front and then obviously remove the driveway in front of that garage and then build a new garage in the rear and build a very long driveway to the rear?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so yeah.
If we tie this application, there's no conditions on this application. It just permits a very wide driveway, and the garage, I believe, in the rear is permitted anyways. If we tie it to this drawing, is the applicant willing to have it tied to this drawing? That means that he's giving up his garage and his driveway access to the existing garage.
Where is it?
Yeah, we're okay with that.
You're okay with that, are you?
That's what he said. He's okay with that.
Yeah. I spoke to the owner and he's okay with it.
Okay, I'm willing to recommend approval of this application, but in accordance with the site plan as shown, and that the existing driveway be replaced by soft landscaping.
I'm still lost where the other garage is.
That portion as shown on the site plan.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application, subject to the condition that it be tied to the site plan.
Yeah.
And there's urban forestry comments?
Yes, there's a tree on the
Okay,
front.
and Eddie, you're aware of the urban forestry comments?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, all right, so.
I'll second that motion.
We have a seconder. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. Your application's been approved, subject to the conditions as stated. Thank you. And now we
Have a
have,
nice day.
thank you. And now it's the last one, item 22, 58 Birchmount Road. 58 Birchmount Road is an application to construct a new two-story, two-unit detached dwelling, and we have before us 5 variances. David Smith, the agent, are you with us?
I am indeed. Good afternoon, members of the committee.
Thank you very much for your patience today. I'll just do a quick roll call just to make sure everyone's there. Lauren and Daniel Salmon, they're not?
Through the chair, these people haven't logged in today.
Perfect. Vanessa Curia?
Through the chair, this person hasn't logged in today.
Okay, I think they were with Todd Burden.
Yeah, they were.
Todd and Vanessa were together. Todd, you're there with us?
Yes, we're both here.
Thank you very much. And Philip Lee Shanek?
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So David, I will ask the committee if they have any specific questions or they would like to hear a presentation from you. So committee members, any questions or presentation required?
I do have a question. Would the applicant be willing to put privacy screening on the second-story platform associated with variance number 5?
Absolutely. Actually, I submitted drawings to that effect late last week, I believe Friday. They are on the AIC, but certainly not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just for record, Laurel and Daniel Salmon had submitted their letters of objection, so we have reviewed the letter that was dated August 4th. Any further question for David? None?
Just clarification. So the 2 letters of support are from the immediate neighbors to flanking each side, and the opposition is from Harding to the rear, correct? David?
We have support for both 56 and 60 Birchmount, as well as 111 Harding Boulevard. So one of effectively 3 properties that sort of back onto the rear of it.
Okay, thank you.
So 3 letters of support, right?
Yeah, and from the immediate flanking
From the immediate,
neighbors.
yeah.
This was.
Okay, and then we had 2 letters of objection, as I said, one from Vanessa, and then the other from Laurel. Okay, no further questions for David. I will move on to Todd and Vanessa together. Todd, are you there?
Yes, we're both here. Yeah, correct.
Okay, could you please speak to your concerns that you have with this application?
Yeah, so we're not concerned with any of the variances except for the balcony. We're very concerned about the issue with privacy. We have, our house is pretty small. The lot size is small. We're directly behind that property. And our house is only 1,500 square feet, but we've have about 200 or 300 square foot of deck space in the back. So in the summertime, it acts almost as an extra room. And with a second balcony in the back there, that is 14 square meters. In the summertime, that space is probably going to be quite usable by multiple people. With the height and the distance from the fence, we'd be looking literally right up their noses all summer. So it can affect us negatively in terms of privacy, the property value. Of course, we're going to sell this house and eventually, upgrade to a bigger house. And so it in our opinion, will affect how much privacy we have in our backyard for sure.
Todd, I completely appreciate your concerns, especially coming from the rear, but I would like to just point out that there is no rear yard variance here, that there's still from that deck platform, from the very edge of that deck platform, there's 8.41 meters of a distance between that and the property line. So in many other conditions, that's a pretty ample rear yard space to provide adequate buffering from adjacent properties. And I know it's never easy to see change, but unfortunately, these people are allowed to also utilize their backyard as long as it doesn't have like, if it's not like right up against that property line. And from my professional opinion, an 8.41 meter separation from that deck to that property line is more of a backyard than most people have actually in this city.
Yeah, okay, I guess I was referring to the size, which is what the variance is. The size is asking for 14 square meters as opposed to 4.
But it's situated quite far away from the property line. So I do appreciate it as an increase in size, but this is a very common variance that we do see. 4 square meters is pretty small of a deck that would probably only allow for like a chair. And I'm understanding that they would like to use this as an outdoor amenity space for themselves as well, just as you use your outside amenity space for the summertime months as well.
Okay.
Yes, fair enough. My outdoor amenities are on ground level and nobody can see me. You know, our neighbors beside us and behind us, we don't, it's all private. They don't see us. If you're up on a balcony, you can overlook literally all of the neighbors behind you, and we can see them. So it is quite a difference. Right now, we don't have any in that area looking down on us.
Okay.
Would the applicant consider, some additional landscaping on that rear property limit, like some trees, plantings to help with the perceived privacy impacts?
Is that a question for our applicant?
For David, yes.
We haven't gotten to David yet.
Oh, sorry.
We have to be mindful of the process because with virtual, we can't just flip.
Right.
Okay. So we will ask that question to David when we get to David. Anything else that you would like to add, Todd, before we leave?
Yeah, I think that was my only concern. I did speak to David about the privacy, about putting trees up and stuff. It was one thing that we had discussed, but it wasn't clear as to whether there was a couple of things that I wanted to make clear. There's 2 large trees that are on that property. I think there's 2, but there's definitely one that's about 80 to 100 feet high, which provides quite a lot of cover. If that tree was taken down, then you have a real serious problem. But David suggested maybe planting some trees that he wasn't specific on whether they would be mature trees or not. It doesn't really help us if they plant trees that are going to grow in 10 years. That doesn't really do anything. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. I was willing to work with him, but I wasn't sure that was clear.
Todd, just so you know, they can't sell mature trees that are like 50 years old. There's only a certain size that is able to transplant properly and survive. So we can definitely request the applicant to, as an added condition, in addition to the privacy screening that I'd requested, ask for some additional plantings. But unfortunately, we can't mandate that he plants trees that are, of a certain size, because it may not be realistic.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I understand that. That's one of the reasons that that I'm on this call, and that's one of the reasons that we couldn't come to an agreement.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk to David and see how we can come closer to something that works for everyone. Member Macaulay has a question for you, Todd.
Yes. Are you the property directly behind this property? When I look at the survey, it says that there is a metal shed in your backyard. Is that still there?
Yes, but the shed is only about maybe 10 feet high, maybe at the most.
Okay.
So if there was a balcony, it would clear that for sure.
Okay, but that shed does provide privacy at grade for you. Okay, thank you.
It does. Yeah.
At grade, but I think the trees can add some more.
Yes, certainly.
Some height to it. Okay. All right. That's.
I also want to just say that I do see from the aerial that there are other second-story balconies, literally 3 or 4 houses down with similar conditions. So.
Okay. All right. We will consider that. All right, Todd. Thank you very much for your time. We will move to Philip. Philip, are you there?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Please go ahead, Philip, and let us know of your concerns.
Well, really, it's just the final variance, number 5. Just that the proposed deck is sort of 3 times allowed size, and because it's a second story, it'll sort of, I mean, if you see the backyards around here, they're all quite small, so it would kind of be a raised platform, and it would have line of sight down into our backyard, and there pretty well all the families here have little kids, so I think there is a serious privacy concern.
So
I also had a question about
privacy concern as it relates to the size of the deck?
the size and the elevation. I think those are the two.
Well, the elevation, so a second story deck is permitted, right, as of right. The variance that's before us is related to the size. So instead of a 4 square meters, they're asking for 12 square meters. That's what it is. So you have an issue
14.
with 14. So you have an issue with
14.13.
All right, thank you for correcting me. I stand corrected. So your concern is with the size of the deck.
And that it's a raised platform as well.
Okay, all right.
So it's not just, a deck at grade we don't really have a problem with.
Sir, what Madam Chair was trying to say is that the raised deck is permitted in terms of it being allowed on that second story. So even if they were to comply with the 4 square meters, it would still be on the second story.
Yeah, no problem with 4.
No problem with the 4 on the second story, but there's a problem with 14.1 on the second story. Okay.
Correct, yeah, it'd be sort of this big stage,
Okay, all right. Philip, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I did speak to our neighbors, Daniel and Laura, and they regrettably couldn't attend, but I think they sent a letter.
Yes, we do have the written submission to the platform. So we have that. Thank you very much for confirming that with us. Okay.
And the last thing is I just have a question about, there is a large mature Manitoba maple in the corner of the lot. Would that be removed, or I don't?
Okay, we will get that clarification from David, the agent. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience and your time, Philip. Members of the committee, we will now move to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, are you there?
Hi, yes.
Hi, so,
Absolutely, I am.
so perfect. So you heard the concerns related to the size of the deck, the second, and that being on the second story, but we have provided some clarification that the second story deck is permitted. But between the one written submission and the 2 neighbors who spoke, they have concerns with the size of the deck. Is there an opportunity to revise the size of the deck?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank panel members for basically addressing the concerns and pointing out the realities of what we're allowed to build as of right. I'm a bit shocked at sort of all this concern over the deck, particularly because of how far back the balcony is
I
set
agree.
back. I explained to Todd in the email correspondence the fact that we would be happy to increase the plantings at the back of the lot. There's no intention to remove any of the existing foliage or trees there. And as the panel member pointed out, he has a huge shed at the back of his yard that also adds extra screening. I wonder if by chance Brian could bring up the Google map image of this property, because the amount of tree growth in the background is substantial. This idea of privacy is a bit difficult to digest, because between what we could do on a fence level and the existing tree growth, I don't see what the concern is. I also pointed out to Todd that as of right, we're allowed to build to 17 meters and then have a 5-foot deck beyond, a 5-foot balcony beyond that. At 13.64 depth of building, we're actually trying to be very sensitive to the people behind us in building in line with existing buildings to the north and the south on Birchmount Road. I appreciate that this is a slightly slightly larger balcony than what the bylaw permits. But as panel member M pointed out, the standard 4 square meters is not much to work with. And considering this will be the only exterior amenity space for the second floor tenant, who's simply one of the sons of the homeowner, there's a desirability in providing a bit of space. It's off of a back bedroom, so it's not like there's a blowout parties on it. And again, to the point that right now, as proposed, the building projects 13.64 meters back, plus a 2.44 meter balcony. We're at 16 meters. So we're not even coming close to the 17 meter building depth, where we could build a building that you could stand with windows and look out at people, not to mention a permitted 5-foot projection balcony.
David, I think we hear you loud and clear. David, I think we hear you loud and clear. Okay.
No, I think that was great. That was great clarification, and we see your point. At this point, anything else that you would like to add, members of the committee?
I just want to say, you know, we understand your position, David. We're just trying to work here with the neighbors to try to build some kind of consensus. So if you wouldn't mind, in addition to the privacy screening, just to agree to have some additional plantings, I think that that's a fair compromise between all. I also, Brian, if you could just, oh, you closed it. I was just going to say, if you were to scale out of that Google map, you will see that there is a house, literally 2 houses to the south that have a very similar deck. Yes, that house there. So, you know, from a perspective of this being, you know, appealed, I don't see there being merit in saying that it's not appropriate to have that deck. So I'm prepared to move a motion of approval subject to all of the conditions, urban forestry, along with the privacy screening and the additional plantings.
1.8 meters?
Of 1.8 meters privacy screening, as well as the additional plantings. And the reason being is that there is a significant setback in the rear yard to a deck size, what, in my opinion, 14 meters is now kind of the standard size of decks these days, and for it to be a usable amenity space.
Okay.
And I'm prepared to support that.
So you've already put a motion forward to approve the application, subject to conditions of open forestry, 1.8 meter high privacy opaque fence.
And additional landscaping.
And additional landscaping.
On the rear lot line
On
to
the rear lot
adapt
line.
privacy screening. I believe Secretary Treasurer has something to add.
Through the chair, I just want to get some clarification in terms of the privacy screening, which sides you're proposing.
Both sides, please.
Well, no, directions, please.
Oh, right, sorry.
East-west?
East-west.
Thank you.
No, that's good. So east-west, so privacy screen, 1.8 meter tall, opaque on east and west of the proposed platform. Additional tree plantings subject to the satisfaction of someone? Or just between the neighbors?
Just a few additional tree plantings on the rear lot line.
Okay. May I have a seconder to this motion?
I'm just questioning whether it is east-west or whether it's
North-south?
north-south, yeah.
Oh.
It is north-south, because Birchmount is north-south. I apologize. I modify my
it is
motion.
north-south,
It's
yeah.
north-south.
Yeah, you want it on the rear lot, you want the screening to be
No.
in line with the rear lot line, correct?
No.
No.
You want it sideways?
Perpendicular,
Because the
yes.
people behind you are the ones that are concerned about it.
We can't put a 1.8 meter tall fence there, could we?
We're talking screening.
Yeah, screening.
We could. David, were you, if we were to remove the privacy screening on the north-south and have it on parallel to the rear lot line, is that something that you could comply with to help with the privacy to the rear property owners?
Well, to clarify, my understanding was we would offer privacy screening on the balcony on the east and west side per standard Committee of Adjustment requirements.
You mean north-south?
For additional,
North-south.
well, east and west are the sides of the balcony.
I'm pretty sure north, no, you're,
Sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm backwards. The north and south are the sides of the balcony.
yes,
So
that's
if
why we were
we
confused.
are also more than happy to plant additional plantings at the west end, the rear property line, with a new fence, to further improve the privacy.
I'm satisfied with that.
Okay.
So my motion is for privacy screening on the north-south on the second-story balcony and additional plantings on the rear lot line property limits.
Seconder, please.
I'll second that motion.
Seconder, all in favor of this motion? Motion's carried with the conditions as stated. Thank you very much. That brings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, for your time and everyone who attended today. That brings us to the end of our meeting today. And question for staff, any other business?
No other business.
Okay. And I think it was for FYI that the city received a TLAB appeal for 1571 Sandhurst Circle. And the date of the next meeting is August 27, and the meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.